Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to No Name Gaming. Tonight, we shake things up here on the channel as we are hosting a racing league. We head to the virtual Daytona International Speedway, otherwise known as the birthplace of NASCAR, for 100 laps around the 2.5 Super Speedway Mile Oval. The race tonight is going to feature the drivers of the online Motorsports Association and their virtual racing championship. It's a long-standing league as they've been around for 9 seasons over on the NASCAR console games over with NASCAR Heat. However, this season they're making the transition for Season 10 over to iRacing. Some of the drivers have been on iRacing for quite some time. However, many others have just recently joined. So, however, it being at Daytona, anyone has a chance to come away with a victory. My name is Alex Light. I'm excited to be bringing the race to you here tonight, both as the host and the producer. And over on the other side of things here, joining me up in the booth tonight, I have Richard Wolsifer. Richard, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Alex. Ready for some great racing here at probably one of my favorite tracks on the NASCAR circuit. Looking for some great action and great excitement coming from these drivers tonight.
Yeah, Daytona, one of the most historic tracks in all of NASCAR. To win here is always a wonderful thing. I have to say, winning the Daytona 500 back in February was an awesome moment for me. But talking about tonight's race, what do you think some of these drivers have to do to try and find themselves in victory lane by the end of the race?
I think a lot of the drivers are going to have to learn how to push each other really well. I feel the transition from NASCAR Heat over to iRacing is going to be very different. Like you said, a lot of the drivers are used to this kind of racing here at iRacing, but you never know. Some of these drivers might be coming from a controller over on the consoles to now having a steering wheel and pedal set for the PC. So we'll definitely see who's going to be good at pushing. They got to line those bumpers up so they don't spin anybody out, but definitely looking to see whoever can push and whoever can be pushed. You'll see them up front running and definitely fighting for the win.
Yeah, you definitely got to find your friends throughout the race and try and pair up with them. Teammates, we're definitely going to see try and line up together, such as OCM Racing. They've got the most returning members and also the most experience over on the iRacing side. So expect to see them up towards the front for the majority of the race. But coming into tonight's race, there's also a lot of really good storylines. I mean, you have things such as Drew Jua. He is the reigning champion, actually back-to-back champion, taking seasons 8 and 9. You have Tyler McDonald. He is coming back into the league. He is the record holder for all-time wins in the OMA with 44 wins. He was Season 1 champion, backed out at the end of Season 6, and is back here for Season 10. Tim Moore is in the field here tonight. He is the champion for Seasons 6 and 7. And you also have other familiar faces joining in, such as Thomas Green. He's coming back after Season 6. His last win was at Dover in that season. And then you also have Jared Talmadge joining Thomas Green as his teammate. Jared Talmadge was the Season 4 champion. He's currently 6th all-time in wins at 16, however, has not won a race since Season 5 and took a short break for himself at the end of Season 7. So there's a lot of drivers coming back here. You've got some really big names in this league that you just heard, many former champions. There's also a couple drivers who have won this race here and gone on to win the season championship. So do you think getting off, especially making that transition from NASCAR Heat 5 to iRacing and getting a win here at Daytona, is that going to help catapult somebody towards a championship run?
That can definitely help catapult someone to that championship run. Going to help them get those early point lead, that early confidence, coming into the iRacing series here. They can feel like they've got a grasp of these next gen cars here in iRacing. But at the same time, it is Daytona. These cars will handle a lot different on many of the other tracks coming up later in their season. But I mean, anything can happen. Anyone can win this race from the front to the back. It is anybody's game here.
Well, talking about the duration of the season here, here's a look at the schedule throughout the season. They start here at Daytona. Next week, head to Auto Club, then Iowa and Charlotte. And you can see the rundown. Interesting schedule here, seeing the fact that they both do new and old Atlanta. So that'll be really interesting to see. I've never tried these Gen 7 cars on old Atlanta, but seeing how these cars handle bumps in the road could make some really interesting racing. Some other notable tracks on the schedule. You've got the Charlotte Roval in the playoffs. They're doing Chicagoland as the championship race, which I personally really love Chicagoland. This car runs really nice there. It makes some really good racing. Another one that I was surprised to see, I don't know about you, Richard, Long Beach is on the schedule.
Yeah, I was looking through the schedule just now here, and yeah, I was the first thing that really caught my eye was Long Beach after seeing the new and old Atlanta, which is interesting as well. But Long Beach, I mean, just seeing that's going to be a very interesting race in these cars.
Yeah, these cars, if you've never driven them, they struggle to make really tight corners. You really have to slow it down in order to make it. So we'll have to see what's going to happen with that. So it's going to be interesting, but that is a while away. It gives these guys a lot of time to get comfortable with the cars before they have to worry about going to Long Beach. Road America, though, fits these cars very, very nicely. I think it drives really well there. I don't know if you've ever driven the Gen 7 cars of Road America, Richard, but I think it's pretty fun. I have a good time with it.
I have not touched Road America at all in iRacing. So far, really the only road course race that I've enjoyed in these Cup cars has been Watkins Glen. That has probably been my favorite track on the road side for these cars.
Yeah, Watkins Glen's really enjoyable. I have a lot of fun there. I don't mind Sonoma. It's not as bad. I don't like the Charlotte Roval with these cars. For some reason, it just does not mesh with me. Daytona, I like it as long as you don't take that NASCAR chicane at the end of the race. That NASCAR chicane drives me up a wall. Quite literally.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever driven the Cup cars here on the road course of Daytona either.
But taking a look in the chat, guys, just so you know, and I might have to repost the link here. There is the link to the live timing, so you can keep up to date with everything, seeing the full rundown of who is where on the track, how far apart everybody is, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, there is the link for that. And actually, thank you so much, Yuki, for pinning that to the chat. Greatly appreciate that. And to answer you, Keith, tonight's race is 100 laps. So to give you guys a rundown, there is a stage at lap 50, at the start of lap 50. However, we are not going to have a caution. We're just going to run right through it. They'll go back and they will get the stage points from there. And then we'll run through to the end of the race. At the end, if we get a caution before the white flag, we do have unlimited green-white checkers, which I was told. I didn't think you could do that in iRacing, but you'll learn something new every day. So we'll see how many, if we get to that point, we'll need to use. But this is going to be very interesting racing, as I think we're getting close to qualifying. I'm not sure when we'll be doing that. We did have to reset the server a little bit. There was a slight issue with the qualifying aspect of it. So that's why things are a little bit off schedule. So we apologize for the slight delay to the start of the race. I'm actually going to try and find out right now about when we're starting.
Yeah, definitely going to look forward to the qualification. You know, that's the time to get your car right there up in front, depending on how you want to run. Me personally, running Daytona, I like trying to qualify up front. You can generally stay out of the early race troubles if you can qualify probably in like the top 6. Any time further back than that, that's when you want to make the decision. Do you want to try to make that early push, get up in front, get away from the trouble, or do you want to fall back, find some of your friends back there, and just kind of wait to make that final end of the race push, or make up that time during the green flag pit stops?
See, for me personally, I also agree. I like to run up towards the front when it comes to super speedways. For some reason, I don't know why, and you guys seem to question it every time we come to super speedways. I just seem to have that extra little, like, 100th of a second, if that. It seems to get me pole every time we come to a super speedway. When we went to Wicked Racing League, we went to Daytona and Talladega this current season. I got pole. I swept pole at the super speedways. On Monday night, we went to Talladega for real sim racing, and I got pole there by about 100th of a second. So for some reason, I just have that like little knack for it. I don't stay up front. I don't like leading. I feel like I'm better pushing. But everybody has their own different skills. Some people are really good at just seeing the line. I mean, everybody always references Dale Earnhardt. He was always one that could just weave his way through the field, was able to basically see the air coming off the cars, what people always said. And that's just a talent that you don't see very often. And so to be able to work your way through the field is going to be a huge thing if you're further back. Maybe the strategy is to hang back, wait for the big wreck to happen, and then start to move your way forward, because it can get pretty risky depending on how aggressive some people want to be. Now, Daytona, as opposed to Talladega, is a little bit narrower. So running 3 wide, yes, it's possible, but it gets pretty snug on track, doesn't it, Richard?
It definitely does get a little snug after a little bit of driving there. I mean, you do still need to worry about getting loose, especially getting the when someone gets sucked up right to your rear bumper there, and you got someone in front of you also. That car can definitely step out from behind you, and it can definitely take you off guard. You know, you got to always be up on that steering wheel, aware of who's around you, what's going on, because that side draft here also, that sucks the car right up to the car on whoever's side drafting you. So that is something to be very wary of here as well in these next gen cars.
All right, so we just got a little bit of an update here on what is going on with the race session. So we're going to have about a 10-15 minute delay to the start just because of how things happen. More people are able to get into the server, so we're going to have a fuller race. So we are going to be starting qualifying around 8:40 Eastern. That is about 5 minutes from now. So we apologize for the delayed race start. However, once things get rolling, it's going to be quite exciting. Right now, it's actually a pretty full field. When we were at the end of the session in the previous lobby, we had 24 drivers. We are now, I don't know, I'd have to count. It looks like we're probably close to 30 at this point, though.
Yeah, it definitely looks like we've got a way bigger field now than what we had earlier. It's definitely,
we do have 30.
30 cars exactly on the dot. That's going to be exciting. A lot more cars on the track. That's a lot more action to be watching, but also a lot more potential for the big one to happen. And it is inevitable. It is Daytona. It is a super speedway. These cars are in a pack the entire race. The big one is inevitable. It's just a matter of if it's going to be early or if it's going to be late and how many there's going to be.
So one thing my chat likes to do when we go racing at super speedways, Richard, is they like to predict when we think that first caution is going to be. I know we do with the race, like in our voice chat and everything. So seeing we've got a pretty big field here, we got 30 drivers, and it's going to be pack racing, everything like that. When do you expect that first caution to come out?
Well, considering it's the first time here, it's first time around these drivers, I really don't have a say, but being that a lot of them are new to iRacing, I can see between laps 5 and 10, we could potentially see one of our first cautions just because everyone trying to get used to how to push these cars. Someone might not get that perfect lineup right on that back bumper, which can definitely upset that car that they're trying to push. So that's going to be my guess. I'm going to guess between laps 5 and 10, we might get the first car around and first yellow thrown.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that feels really early, but at the same time, I kind of agree with you that it could come pretty early. Maybe just like somebody bumps a little off center, or maybe they bump in the corner and they get somebody loose. But I want to be optimistic. I'm going to go with lap 20. I see you in chat, Yuki, saying first 20 or 30 laps. I'm going to go around lap 20. I think is when the first cautions come out. But I think it's probably going to be like a small wreck. But you never know. We'll have to wait and see. But hopefully we can keep things green. I would love to see green flag pit stops because that always makes for some excitement because then you get strategy into the mix. Do you go early? Do you go late? How do you run that? So we'll see if we get some of that pit strategy in here tonight.
Yeah, green flag pit stops definitely shakes things up a lot. Getting down to pit road at Daytona can definitely be pretty tricky. You know, coming down that front stretch out of turn 4, you were almost up to about 200 mile an hour at times, 190, 195 about. So trying to get the brakes down without locking up, spinning out, hitting the people in front of you, getting hit from behind. Like you have to be completely aware of all of your surroundings while also getting down to that dreaded speed limit for the pit road right before that yellow cone, because you don't want to waste any time that is unnecessary with a black flag on pit road, because you're just going to lose the draft when you get out.
Oh, that's a really good point too. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with how these cars go around at Daytona in particular, you're going about 100 and I would say 90 miles an hour coming off of turn 4. In order to get onto pit road, you basically have to dip right onto the apron, get on those brakes pretty quickly and drop down to 55 miles an hour within, I would say, what, the length of a football field?
Yeah, I'd say about that. It's definitely right before that tri-oval turn hits, and it's still a turn to get down into pit road as well. But if you go any faster than 55 going across that line, going into pit road, right where that yellow cone is, you can see the yellow cone. We just saw it there on the screen, right there on the outside of pit road. If you were faster than 55 going across that cone, you got a hold penalty.
Yeah, hold penalties definitely are not fun. So we are going to be starting qualifying here in just a moment, but how about we bring in season 6 and 7 champion Tim Moore. Tim, how are you doing tonight?
We're doing great. We're getting ready for qualifying here in about a minute, but oh man, I'm excited. I'm gonna be honest with you. Not typically do I get a little bit nervous, but got a little bit of goosebumps going right now. It's gonna be a fun night.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm really excited up here in the booth. I've got like a grin on my face, excited to be back broadcasting some iRacing, especially being with you guys. I know a bunch of you guys from other different things, but looking forward to tonight. So you've had some great success at super speedways, you were saying before the race, and you're a champion here in the VRC. What is your strategy going into tonight? How do you plan to get this number 69 car to the front of the field at the end of the race?
Well, the first step in that 69 Mazzilli made Chevrolet up in front, staying up in front. We have 100% fuel here at these super speedways as compared to other tracks we're going to go to where it's going to be 60%. So it's going to be about a 1 or 2 pit stop race depending on the cautions. So we have to make sure we're ahead of the trouble and making sure that we can push and be consistent throughout the evening. That's a big reason why, you mentioned me being a two-time champion here at VRC, but also being a 2-time Daytona 250 winner, which is something I take a lot of pride in. To make it 3 times in the last 4 seasons, I'm going to have to be up in front, putting myself in the right position. So I think that the first step is qualifying well and then putting ourselves in a spot where, we can push ourselves to victory. And even if it's not me getting the victory, the goal at the end of the day for us truly is having OCM Racing in victory lane somehow, some way. Just don't want to wreck anybody for it, because that's not how I like to win races.
Yeah, nobody likes win races like that, Tim. And you definitely got the strategy there, trying to get up front. We were talking about that earlier in the broadcast. Get up front and stay up front. It seems to be the safest for here at Daytona. But coming from the console of NASCAR Heat 5 to iRacing, how are the drivers feeling racing here on the iRacing sim here at Daytona National Speedway?
Well, it's a little bit interesting because you have some guys, especially what Alex mentioned before the broadcast, is that, listen, we have some guys here that do have some experience already. Myself, I've been actively running in the NASCAR iRacing Road to Pro Series this season, getting my feet wet with that, guys like Drew as well. But, there's some new guys getting in, and I think, some guys are a little bit nervous today about, how pushing's going to be, how scenarios are going to be. And listen, I'm going to be transparent. There's going to be bumps and bruises. It's a first season for a reason within this league, but I think that everybody, is going to be able to handle it pretty well. And it comes down to the fact of this, situational awareness. And I think a lot of these guys here coming in today, that's their goal: survive to the end. You only get one fast repair. And while these cars are very durable, it's going to be a big challenge, to keep this car on the racetrack all 100 laps. So I think that's a lot of guys' focus, and my focus is not being over aggressive. So I think that's the big step, and I'm sure a lot of other guys are going to be following that.
All right, Tim. Well, we wish you best of luck. We're gonna send you on back to the car so you can get into the and practice and get your qualifying laps in. Sorry about that. And best of luck on the track.
Thank you.
All right, so qualifying is underway here. You're taking a look at Tyler McDonald, and he actually shares a similar strategy to what I do. So if you aren't aware of what he's doing right now, he currently is driving at an incredibly slow pace, 120 miles an hour, and now he put the throttle down. So what he's doing is he's taking advantage of those cold tires. These cold tires seem to be faster at super speedways, and so he's going to run around, get that speed build up, and then hopefully get a burner on lap 2. So Tyler McDonald is, again, that season 1 champion here. So we'll see how he fares tonight in his first race back since season 6. And welcome everybody who is new to the channel, or for those of you just tuning in. My name is Alex Light, and I'm joined in the booth by Richard Wolsifer. And Richard, you said we need to pick some drivers to watch here for tonight.
Yeah, they definitely need to pick some drivers for tonight to watch for. And Tim Moore, like you was saying, a very seasoned driver here at Daytona, it seems like, and iRacing. So definitely gonna have to watch him, being a repeat winner here at Daytona, as well as he was saying. He's definitely got the strategy there to get up front, stay up front with his team. So let's see if that strategy plays out for him and they can keep the cars up there in the lead and get that win for the first race of the season.
Yeah, I'm also going to say look out for Drew Jua. Drew Jua, I mean, you have to go with the two-time reigning champion, right? How do you not say he's going to be a driver to watch? It's just hard to deny that. So keep an eye out for him as we go throughout the race here tonight. You could see him maybe running up towards the front. And why don't we pick 2 here? Since we've got a little bit of time. There's a big field here tonight. We've got, I think, over 30 drivers at this point. So why don't we pick 2?
Well, okay. Well, I guess
I know I kind of threw that curveball at you. Sorry about that, Richard.
But looking at the qualification times, we've got people already laps coming down, and Drew Jua right there taking the lead right now with a 49.43 currently on the pole, and Tim Moore there in second, 49.44. But Tyler McDonald got a nice lap there as well in the third position with a 49.47. I think I might pick him as my second pick.
You're going with the season 1 champion. All right. I like the pick. I'm going to say for my second pick, keep an eye out for, let's say, Tyler Glass. Tyler Glass, I've seen him race before. I've done stuff with him in the booth. So he's currently sitting 3rd on the timing chart. But qualifying, yes, it's there for track position. It really means nothing in terms of pace because you don't see what somebody has in pace until we actually get on the track. So we're going to see what's going to happen here in just a little bit as qualifying should be wrapping up in just a little bit. So we'll bring you the full starting grid in just a moment. We have a few guys still finishing up, though. We've got Jonathan West out on track. Jared Newton running his hot lap now, currently in 27th. But we'll see if he can improve on that 49.9. Not sure if Jonathan West will be able to get a lap in, though. Yeah, that's going to be that. The session is over. So let's get you your starting grid. But before that, let's get our season 10 race command.
Hey everyone, it's Tyler McDonald, driver the number 23 Swedish Fish Toyota Season 1 champion and Daytona 250 champion as well. And drivers, start your engines.
Drivers, start your engines.
Drivers, start your engine!
I'm Drew Jua. Gentlemen, start your engines.
Drivers, for the 10th annual time for the Daytona 250. Drivers, start your simulators.
All right, that is a bunch of the drivers, some of the top 5 drivers in the VRC, giving you the race command. So with that all being said, let's go through our starting lineup here for tonight. Starting on pole, we have Drew Jua. Alongside him, he has teammate Tim Moore. In third, you've got Tyler Glass. Alongside him, Ryan Miniker. In row 3, Tyler McDonald. Next to him is Eric O'Connor. 7th place is Brandon Schulenberger. And then in 8th is Isaac Shelley. Jonathan Amodio in 9th. And then Jarrett Talmadge rounds out the top 10. And why don't you take the next 10 there, Richard?
All right, looks like at 11th, we're going to have the 55 of JT Sipes. Following outside of him, the 36 of William Reagan. Min Han coming in at 13th with Kyle England on the outside, rounding out row 7. Row 8, you're going to have Kevin. Oh, man, I'm going to mess this name up again. We were practicing this. I apologize for that.
Urguez.
Urguez. Thank you so much, Kevin Urguez. Don't hurt me at the end of this race. I really apologize for that. But Kevin Urguez there in 15th position, followed by Ashton Tackwell, 16th on the outside. Jeffrey Hunka in 17th, and Cameron Garrison in 18th. 19th, James J. Mendez and Thomas Green rounding up 20th position.
In 21st, we've got Bradley Qualls. 22nd is Andrew Miller. 23rd, Alex Burns, and alongside him is Gatlin Downey. And then moving a little bit further down the field to round out, we've got in 25th, Fabricio Lamana. Then Jolene Sims in 26th. 27th is Jared Newton, followed by Vincent DePizzo. And then rounding out the field, we've got 29th, Jonathan West. and Jimmy Emos. So that is your field here for tonight as we get rolling off of pit lane. And now the real excitement gets ready to begin as we're going to go green here in just a moment. So any last words here, Richard, before we get the first race of Season 10 underway here with the OMA VRC?
Well, I bet right now the nerves are pumping for sure. The adrenaline is there. They are excited. These drivers are excited. We're excited up here in the booth. Probably one of my favorite tracks, again, like I've mentioned before, here in iRacing, here on the NASCAR Cup circuit. This is going to be a very exciting race. These guys are ready to go fast, and they're ready to get these laps done. 100 laps at this 2.5-mile super speedway.
To get ready. We've got a large field here tonight, 30 cars on track, so it's definitely going to be a lot of fun and could be some damage going on as well. We'll see how these drivers adjust to the transition from NASCAR Heat 5 over to iRacing. But we're coming around turns 3 and 4 now. Gonna get ready to take that green flag in just a moment. We've got Benny, the pace car driver. He's gonna be bringing it off here just a second from the iRacing pace car. And then it's in the hands of Barney, the flag man. Let's go up here, up to the flag stand. Here we go. Green flag, and away we go. Green flag racing at Daytona for the OMA VRC Season 10 Daytona 250. And Drew Jua gets a good jump, is going to get ahead of teammate Tim Moore and start to pull away early, try and get that high line going. They'll see if they can make that high line work and get the momentum up there. But you've got Tyler Glass on the bottom line trying to move with Season 1 champion Tyler McDonald.
Yeah, it looks like we already got some drivers dropping low, going to drop to the back of the field to stay safe. This is a long race. It is 100 laps of just bumper to bumper driving, and we've got Drew and Tim Moore working really well together there on the outside line, trying to get it moving, just trying to get that 48 of Ryan Miniker to, suck up to him so they can get a good run. But it looks like they're just going to stay side by side right now as they come around to finish lap 1. And looks like it might be Drew Drua leading the first lap of Season 10.
Yeah, Drew Drua takes the first lap. For some reason, it's saying he's pitting. So let's see if we can fix that here. Nope, it's not going to adjust. So there we go. Now it's going to fix it. But you can see Tim Moore really uptight against Drew. But the problem is not getting a lot of push from behind, as you mentioned. And if that top line doesn't get organized, they're not going to be able to pull away the way that they want to. They've got some great momentum in a tandem there as Tim Moore is literally hooked up to the 4-car. But when it comes into the corners, if you don't have somebody right behind him, it's going to start to back off.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a lot of the drivers are trying to get used to the iRacing sim, though, here at Daytona. We got a huge gap on that outside line also. It's kind of broken up. Who is it there that just jumped up to the outside line to try to help them get caught up? But it looks like the outside line is starting to get some momentum. 48 starting to get up there with Ryan trying to get up right behind Tim Moore. But it's pretty much Daytona right now, just side-by-side racing. Doing a really good job so far, it seems. A lot of cars, actually a lot of them staying straight, doing a really good job pushing.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that the field is kind of spread out a little bit. Maybe a little bit of conservative driving here throughout the field. Don't want to be too overly aggressive, especially early on. But so far, I mean, things seem to be fairly organized. That bottom line is starting to figure it out, as you see now Tyler Glass is starting to pull ahead. He's going to get the lead here coming around to the line for lap number 4. But then the outside line is going to start to pick up. They are dropping off a little bit on that outside line, but that tandem drafting is just enough to give them that extra push to get ahead in the corners.
Yeah, they're going to get that speed going into the turn, but, if they don't have more people right there behind them to help them get through the turn, that bottom line is going to catch them there. That bottom line is always going to catch, though, on that inside. It's the shortest way around the track because they're all going about the same speed going through the turn, but coming off the outside into the straightaway, they're going to have the momentum coming off the turn because they're not going to shave off as much speed as the bottom lane. But, yeah, just side by side, just kind of swapping back and forth the lead. But it actually looks like Tyler Glass might be able to pull off and lead this lap. And there it is. Tyler Glass going to lead lap 5.
Yeah, it seems like that bottom line might be starting to figure out. However, things fanning out on that bottom line. Some drivers joining up top as well. but it's hard to tell if it's maybe from Drew trying to go for a little bit of side draft. You saw him in the corners of 3 and 4 come down a little bit. You see him coming down a little bit there in 1 and 2, maybe trying to slow down that bottom line a bit. But I want to go on board of one of our biggest movers so far early on in the race, Fabricio Lamana. He is currently riding back in 15th, started in 25th. So you can just see a little bit of the chaos of what's going on up in front. And there is it's just 2x2 all the way back to Fabricio.
Yeah, they're just trying to see if they can get all the way to the front there. They're just trying to see who they can work with also. If they're not around teammates yet, everyone's trying to get to their teammates so they have someone to work with. But if you're not around teammates at the moment, you got to find someone that you got to work with here, or find out what line you feel is going to be the safest and quickest way to try to get as many positions as you can. I mean, it's getting to a point now where it's questionable if you want to be up there racing this hard. You know, you're just the inevitable wreck about to happen, or if you're just wanting to fall back. We've already seen a lot of drivers fall back to try to form that second group there. Just trying to play the safe route to stay away from any kind of trouble that could happen in the bigger group.
Well, and it's interesting, too, riding on board here with Fabricio, listening to the throttle. You can hear there he's starting to close up to that 13 with balls, but then as he starts to close in, he lets off the throttle. He doesn't want to get too close, wants to leave about a car's gap there. So there's a bit of reaction time in case something does happen. I mean, you can see this outside line, it moves forward on the straights, then it backs off, it gets runs, then it doesn't, then it's there, then it's not. This bottom line seems to be the more consistent line of the two so far early on.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a little bit more consistent for the inside line. They are kind of staying at a very good distance between each other on the bottom line, able to keep the speed pretty consistent as well. I mean, you have Jua and Moore up there on the top line. They're hooking up and getting bumper to bumper and pushing each other. But for some odd reason, it just doesn't seem Miniker can get up on there and, you know, follow them very well. But looks like they're going to push through, though. That's a great push coming through the tri-oval from all three of them.
Yeah, top line's starting to get it figured out, and they're starting to get those teammates all up there. You've got Eric O'Connor up there now, and you've got JT Sykes, who's familiar with iRacing, everything up there as well. So you can see he's starting to try and join up and make a run on that top line with the OCM guys.
Yeah,
that top line, you can tell it is diminished a lot. That bottom line grew by about 7 cars on the backstretch. I don't know if you saw that way at the back of the screen, but that bottom line now, if they can tighten that up, should be able to get rid of that top line as long as they can keep it straight and organized.
Oh, they're getting really squirrely coming off of 4 there also. Not sure what happened there. Just kind of maybe just a miscue or got down to the apron or something, but they're doing a good job holding it together still. Everyone's holding it really straight. I'm really impressed. You know, not really a lot of bad bumps, it seems like, so far up in this first group, but I think everyone's starting to kind of calm down here after about 9 laps of racing. Looks like the 23 there is going to drop below and fall back. Not sure what call this is, especially on the backstretch here, losing a lot of space. But
interesting. I wonder if it's maybe a fuel-saving strategy, trying to see if they could back off. And then just join in the field, save fuel, and then go from there. But you see all the OCM guys come on down. So now your front 4 read Drew Jua, Tim Moore, Ryan Miniker, Eric O'Connor, and then Tyler Glass rounds out the top 5. But he's going to try and get a push here on the high side from Brendan Schulenberger. But it doesn't look like they're going to have enough of a run.
Not much of a run right now, but they're right there next to that front 4. And they're the only ones up there. They're going to get some help. And it does finally look like a big group has come up to the outside line to help push, but then they're going back down low. Oh. So, wow, that was really close. That outside line has definitely diminished. And those two are just going to fall back. They got to find some space to get into that low unless those 4 cars want to hook up and try to make that outside line work. But right now, everyone's just kind of playing it safe and getting that low line. And just going to try and, you know, just drive around the track now, it seems.
Yeah, so at this point, it becomes a game of strategy until that high line comes back into play. So if you're riding in this bottom line, it's an opportunity to try and save fuel. And that's one thing right now. If you're like Ryan Miniker or Eric O'Connor, where you weren't quite on the tail of Drew Jua, you have the opportunity to go about 3/4 throttle or so to be able to save up on fuel. I know it's very early to be thinking about it, but I mean, a fuel run here at Daytona is about 40 to 45 laps. And so it's something that you have to keep in the back of your mind. How do you want to split that up? Because one stop's not going to be enough to get you to the end.
No, it's definitely not. There's going to be multiple stops to get to the end here. And we got JT Sipes, who's
Oh,
getting
we have one
turned.
sideways.
JT Sipes is around coming out of turn 4. No, and he saves it, though. No yellow. He's got to get back up on the track, though. Going to get back into the great save from Sipes.
Let's go back and see what happened there that got him sideways.
That just seemed like a bad bump coming out of 4. You bump coming out of the turn there. You can't get into the rear bumper until you're in the straightaway. And just seems like a bad bump coming out of 4. Great save, great heads up driving by everybody to miss JT there as he came across the entire field.
Yeah, it was really impressive that he didn't end up getting anybody. He kept it clean throughout the entire field. And just kudos to everybody to have the awareness not to just run him over. So we stay green. Here we go on to lap number 13. Top line trying to go. You've got Isaac Shelley leading the line with Tyler Glass behind him. Can they make a move on that outside line? You see them trying to push a little bit against here Kevin Arguelles, but it's not really doing too much. They're backing up Kevin, but they're not able to get a run themselves because they're just not as organized. You can see all over the line. They're kind of scattered all over the place. They're not right on Isaac. They need to be really tight if they want to try and make this run on the inside line.
It definitely still look like they have the speed on that inside line. That outside line definitely needs to form up, get tighter, to be able to make that run. I mean, they're going to have the momentum overall, but you need those front cars locked up to the bumpers, basically, so you can get that front car to get the speed while the other cars get the draft from behind. But I mean, that was prime example a few laps ago of what a bad bump can do on these cars. One small bump in the wrong place or in the wrong lineup can send these cars just straight around.
Yeah, when you're in tight packs like this, I mean, the car gets incredibly light. Even if you're not squared up, you maybe get a slight touch in the corner. That's all it takes. You can send somebody sideways right into the wall or into the rest of the field. So that was a heck of a move, though, to be able to keep it straight from JT Sipes. But you can see right here, it seems like Drew maybe having some trouble squaring up against Isaac. There's a gap on the bottom, so will we see maybe somebody bail out here and go to the bottom line? But it seems like they're going to stay steady. Oh, maybe we see somebody move up to the top line here. That is 17 of Cameron Garrison. He's going to go move up to the top. Now can Isaac Shelley make the move to get them up there? He's moving up pretty tight, and now it's a jump Tyler Glass to keep Isaac Shelley up there.
That outside line definitely looks like they're starting to form up there with the new leader of that pack. Let's see if he can lead there. Isaac definitely right up on the bumper, which is exactly where he wants to be to try to get that speed. They are gaining ground. It is just a train on that outside there. Getting ready to do some side drafting there. They're in the middle, going to take that outside line there all the way up to the wall almost. Try to get that momentum coming out of the turn, and they are full head of steam finally. This outside line has come together finally to get some speed coming up to the leaders.
They're making a phenomenal move here as they are now up to the top 3 of the inside line. So if they keep this momentum up, they might be fighting for the lead this next lap, but they're going to lose a lot of momentum here in the corner. They have to be careful not to get too close to that inside line because then they're really going to lose some speed coming around turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, they're definitely going to lose speed there as well, but they also have to worry about the side draft because the side draft of these cars is very strong. Not only do you have to worry about the car being sucked down or sucked up into the car trying to side draft, you also have to worry about the massive speed that you lose from being side drafted because it just takes the air and pushes it onto that rear spoiler, which helps slow those cars down. That's really how the best way to pass with these cars at Daytona and Talladega. But here we go. We got to fight for second place here. You're coming up to try to fight for the lead as well.
Yeah, Isaac Shelley moving as the pusher is a phenomenal job. He's been doing a great job trying to get Cameron up there. Just can't seem to get enough momentum, and that's where Tyler Glass comes in. If Tyler closes up a little bit on Isaac, he's going to be able to give a little bit of that extra slipstream, be able to get a little bit more extra momentum there from Isaac Shelley over to Cameron, and that'll just help propel them forward a little bit faster. Now, looking up in the top right corner of the screen here, we have the track map up since everybody's spread out a little bit, so you can see where all 3 packs are on the track, getting a bit of an idea where everything is going, where all the action is.
And it looks like we have 3 packs formed up currently, and the 2 back packs are you're trying to play the safe route here. Got 4 cars lined up here. Who's in this group right here trying to play it together? We got the number 3, the number 20. Who do we got here?
79 of Jonathan West and the 16 of Jared Talmadge. And the pack behind them would be the ones that got caught up a little bit with JT Sipes. You've got the 55 of Sipes, 22 of Alex Burns, and the 23 of Tyler McDonald. And then the last group here, coming around for the Tri-Oval, we've got Jonathan Amodio, Jared Newton, Min Hong, and Jimmy Amos.
And we also have a really far back pack there. Not sure why they're so far back. Of Jonathan, Jared, Min, and Jimmy. But they're on the danger zone of potentially getting lapped by the leaders.
Yeah, they're getting in some dangerous territory at this point, and we saw that line before we split to go look at the other packs, or the other chase groups at least. We saw Too Wide Racing, a chance for Cameron Garrison to go for the lead, and then we come back and it's gone. So it is just single file right now for this front group, trying to figure out what's going to happen, if anybody's going to try and make a move. But so far, we've had Drew Jua, other than a couple laps that we saw Tyler Glass get to the front of the field in the bottom line. He's been your race leader for the most part.
Yeah, Drew Jua doing a phenomenal job leading this race, which is exactly what Tim Moore was wanting, to keep his team and his cars up front for this race and stay there. And that's exactly what they're doing a phenomenal job, just playing follow the leader with teammates and dang near leading every single one of these laps here at Daytona.
Looks like an outside line trying to form there. Slowly but surely, they might be coming together. You've got the 92, or is that the 35? I believe it's the 92 of James Mendez, the 6 of Jolene Sims, and maybe the 5 of Schulenberger, it looked like. Yeah, the 5 of Schulenberger joining with them as well. So we right now 4 cars on that high line now. Will they be able to make something happen? They've got to get organized up there, try and get Jolene right up against James in order to be able to make some moves. That's where we've seen the issues. The only ones that have been able to really make that high line work are the 2 who are leading the field and pulling away a little bit here between Tim and Drew.
Yeah, they definitely got a big gap there. Luckily, I do believe they have a teammate still behind them, so they're not going to worry about that much. But that outside line finally getting some steam. I feel with 4 cars, though, they need at least 1, maybe 2 more, but they're doing a good job. They've got a head full of steam there. They got 2 cars jumping. As soon as I say something, 2 cars jump to the outside. They see the steam that they've got. They're going to try to join that train and try to see if they can't make the push to the front as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about reading energy. That's what you see, what you hear about when you listen to the NASCAR drivers. They talk about trying to read that energy, see what's coming, and if you can hop up in front or hop in line, be able to try and use that momentum wherever it is possible. And so some of those drivers hopping up from the back, trying to see if they can make some moves. But now you see again, that's where this line, every time it seems like the lines just fall off once they get to about 5th place or so, then they lose any head of steam they had coming up to that top line.
And that group kind of looks like it's only about 3 cars. Those 2 cars in the back there, they might still be in the draft, but they have got to get hooked up to get behind these guys to help push them to the lead, because 3 cars, that is not enough to get enough momentum to start catching the front.
They're going to try. They're starting to close up there. Got Cameron Garrison rounding out this top line. So can this top line start to make moves? Jolene Sims trying to get closed up to James Mendez. Bottom line, though, just running nice and easy here at this point. Everybody's keeping a slight gap. Nobody's really pushing too much. Although, take a look there. The one of Kevin Urguez is trying to look to the outside possibly a little bit. Maybe seeing if they can hop on in front of this line. And it looks like they're side by side now, getting right ahead into turn number 3.
Yeah, Kevin missing his chance to go to the outside, as the 92 of Mendez is going to be right beside him, trying to fight for that 5th position, but he's still trying to lead this outside line. They have got to get themselves situated here and lined up, get a good momentum going. You know, the swerving back and forth, that's cutting a lot of the draft away from each other. It's cutting a lot of the speed that they could be building. So, I mean, that's a big thing at Daytona in these cars, is holding that car straight and in the draft, because as soon as you start swerving back and forth and getting out of the draft, that's going to slow you down. You're not going to be able to get right up to the bumper of the car in front of you, and that's going to shave off a lot of speed and time from catching any of the leaders.
Now here's where things are about to get really interesting. If you take a look in turn number 4, coming out of 4 up to the tri-oval, is the 3 that are at the end of the lead lap. Min Hong, you've got Min Hong, Jimmy Amos, and Jared Newton. They're getting ready to catch up to that group here from the lead group, the top 15. So how are they going to handle that? I mean, it's always different. Sometimes leaders call out, hey, could you guys stay low? Could you go high? Sometimes the lap cars offer. Sometimes they just like to YOLO and do whatever they want. So you never know what to expect sometimes out of these lap cars. So we'll see what they're going to do. I mean, if they were smart, they're going to try and hook up onto this pack so they can try and just stay with them. Because you never know how many cautions we're going to get. So if you go a lap down, 3 cars, you might get your lucky dogs. But right now, with the way things are racing, you just got to try and survive.
We are a quarter of a way through this race as they come around to finish lap 25. But yeah, they're catching up to the final group there that potentially put them a lap down. But I mean, that's a big decision that they've got to make as well. Like, do they want to just let this group by? Do they want to try to fit in somewhere and try to keep on the lead lap? Because again, you know, if no cautions come out, the way these guys are racing, they're doing a great job. But, I mean, a caution is inevitable here at Daytona, especially when you get down to those last 10 laps. That is the prime time for a lot of the great racing, a lot of the really dangerous passes, a lot of people taking that chance to get to the lead. And that is where the brewing pop for these wrecks happen, is right there in those last 10 laps. So they have to decide, do they want to try and, you know, stay in front of this group, you know, fill in line, block them, you know, not necessarily maliciously. But going a lap down could mean the end of them potentially trying to go for a win here at Daytona.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. The top 5 starting to pull away a little bit. As I say that, we start to see the 81 of Ronca start to close up that gap. So much for trying to pull away there. But they had a moment. They were looking really good. And, I mean, if you're Ronca, that's the opportunity. If you got somebody to push you, get down, get that run, and then move up. Try and see if you can get that top line form if you're interested in taking the lead. Because at this point, I'm thinking that everybody else is starting to race for strategy. I don't know about you, Richard, but it seems like at this point, you're seeing fewer and fewer drivers look to the outside. Everybody's just kind of running their own lane. And so it feels like at this point of the race, we're just waiting for that first green flag stop.
You definitely are waiting for those green flag stops. They are coming very soon, at least within the next 10 to 12 laps, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, to get that outside line, they definitely form up after a while, but then they just start falling back. It's kind of like they just, I don't know, it's like they can't take the speed or something, because they catch up at least to third, almost second some of the times, and then it just falls apart. I'm not sure if there's a side drafting that we're missing or something, but that, I mean, they're doing a great job right now. They are definitely hooked up, but let's see how long they can stick this together to try to race up there. But it's definitely about time that the teammates should be starting to get together, start talking about when they're going to start going for pit stops. This is when your pit strategy is going to come into play. Do you want to take an early pit stop for less time in the pits to get all that fuel, or do you want to try to get as far ahead as you can to get a later pit stop? It's all part of the strategy and the thinking play that all these drivers have to do, and especially when it's just a driver. They don't have a crew chief. They don't have a spotter generally for some, you know, making these decisions for them or helping them. So they're making these decisions while also trying to fight for position. And they've got one car dropping down the apron there, letting this lead pack by, as they have caught that final pack to put cars lap down now.
Yeah, you can see that outside line. They found an opportunity to join in on the bottom. They're at least going to take it for a moment. It's hard to tell what Mendez is doing. Mendez is going to commit to that outside line. Jolene says, you go for it. I'm going to pass you on the inside once you come back to me. So going off of what you're saying, though, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Oh, never mind. Jolene lets Mendez in. But going back to strategy, yeah, I mean, we're getting to that point that you can stop and we can try and go 2 stops, like lap 33, lap 66, somewhere around that range, and you're going to be good for just a 2-stop, fill up on fuel. If you need to take tires, you take tires, you do whatever you need, and you're going to make it to the end. There's really no issues with that. But the big strategy then, if you want to be big brain play, do you try and stretch out your fuel as far as you can, which is, we'll say for right now, based on what I'm coming up in my head, I don't know if it's real, lap 45. So lap 45, you do that, you can get to lap 90 if we stay green. if there's cautions, there might be a possibility that you could save as long as we don't have green-white checkers. So are we going to see any of these drivers try to stretch this out to a one-stop rather than a two-stop?
I do not see a one-stop race happening, even with 2 cautions. I don't see 10 laps of fuel being saved under 2 cautions here. That is a lot. That is, what, 25 miles? Like, that's a lot of fuel that they'd have to be able to save, and I just don't see that happening even with 2 cautions. It is definitely going to be a two-stop race no matter what, in my opinion. Yeah, it's definitely a strategy race right now, because I mean, we have run 31 green flag laps. This is a very impressive race by these guys, and they're still up here racing side by side, trying to get as many positions as they can. Also, in that outside line, they get up there, they get formed, and then they break apart and get to the low side. Someone gets a run, they step out, get a few to follow, and then right now we have the 92 of Mendez and the number 7. Is that the number 7?
That'll be Jonathan Amodio.
Yeah, they're just getting dropped like rocks right now. They just can't hook up. And 2 cars, I mean, it's still not bad, but that second car, no matter what, if they're going full throttle, he will not be able to suck up to that bumper. It's just, there's like this air bubble that stops the car from being able to be pushed up to the bumper of the car in front of him. They have to have a third car to get the maximum amount of speed.
Well, the tough thing with these Gen 7s, unlike the Gen 6 car, they just don't suck up to the back end of the car in front of you quite the same as the Gen 6 did. The Gen 6 was really good about that. That's why the racing was always so tight, why the wrecks were always so big, because of the fact that you would have cars like right up against each other. They really had no wiggle room. There was no give whatsoever on the track. And so when there's a wreck, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it because you're right up against the guy in front of you. You might not even be able to see past the guy in front of you. But with these cars, I mean, as you can see, some drivers maybe being a little passive, but others, it's hard to get caught up with the guy in front of you, especially when they're starting to catch up with the guy in front of them, and they just don't suck up the same way some of these drivers might be used to with running the Gen 6 over on NASCAR Heat 5.
Yeah, I sadly never actually drove the Gen 6 cars. I came back to iRacing for these next-gen Cup cars. But yeah, it's really hard for 2 cars to suck up and get hooked up. They definitely need more than that. But yeah, they're just not, I don't know. In my opinion, I really think they either need to try to force themselves down into that inside line or just start kind of falling back or trying to side draft to slow that group up. I just don't. I mean, they're doing an okay job out there. They're not really losing a lot of ground, but they're not really gaining anything either. And I feel they're both just kind of wasting time up there. We got someone jumping up with them. That should be the number. Oh, who is that? I don't see.
Number 2 on car. Oh, that would be Min Hung.
Oh, Min Hung. Okay, he's jumping up there. Oh, he gets a little close to the number 6 there. Has to dart up the track. It's going to shave a lot of speed off, but now they got 3 cars up there. They might be able to make a decent run here. But I predict we're about to start seeing green flag pit stops here, Alex.
I could very well see that. Well, as you were saying about like wasting time with Mendez up here on the top line, one thing I was going to say, he's not just wasting some time per se, but more fuel. He's up there running almost by himself, full throttle alongside these cars. And so, I mean, it's the equivalent of what Drew has been doing. Now, who knows? Drew might not be full throttle because Tim has been tandem with him for pretty much the word go. So maybe he's saving fuel that way. But we've seen James Mendez run this top line for about the past 10 laps or so. And for the most part, being either at the front of the line or out in the open. And that wastes a lot of unnecessary fuel.
Yeah, when you're the front of a pack, you are full throttle, whereas the person following you doesn't have to be. So you are using a lot more fuel than the people that are drafting behind you. Usually the people that are the drivers that are in the draft, they are, like you were saying, between 50 to 75% throttle. They don't need to be full throttle and they can keep up. That is how significant the draft is here at Daytona in these cars. And that outside line finally to get some head of steam there. It looks like they're starting to make some ground on the leaders as they're getting ready to pass for 4th place.
Yeah, we also have Jimmy Amos up here. Jimmy had gone into pit road earlier. Not sure what for, but is coming around solo. We'll be able to hopefully drop in line and be able to catch the draft and keep up with these cars.
Yeah, doing the respectful thing here, dropping to the apron, letting these guys by. Let's I mean, it's going to be dangerous, though, if he gets on that apron going into the turn. He's going to have to get back up into the track. So the driver's got to be wary of that.
Yeah, he got through.
Yeah.
No danger whatsoever, thankfully.
Good. That's good for him. But downside, he is out of the draft still. And still, what is it, 3 laps down now? He is definitely struggling today.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I saw that he went into pit road earlier on in the race. Maybe thought it was a group of them going in, maybe to short pit, or maybe to do something like group pit, come out with like 3 or 4 of them. But I saw he came in solo, and that's when things were like, oh, something's not quite right here. So unfortunately, yeah, not the best of days there for Amos. But we're going to have green flag pit stops coming here very, very soon as Tim Moore comes on the radio as warning drivers. Remember, watch your speed. And it's something we talked about here at the top of the broadcast. Pit road is a very, very challenging thing. It's almost like its own skill on its own, especially if you do pack pitting like we might have here, up to like 7, 8 cars coming in at one time. You have to pick a lane, you have to pick a brake point, you have to pick how hard to brake, you have to watch out not to turn into another car, all while going from about 190 miles down to 55.
And it is definitely not an easy task to do that, because even the Cup cars from last week at Talladega, the IRL Cup Series drivers, we had 2 drivers. There were 2 drivers that spun out going into pit road under green flag.
Yeah, we have a few coming in. It looks like the top 5 or so are coming in now. So before we come in, Drew Jua is the leader, Tim Moore second, and Ryan Miniker in third. We'll see how they come out after this cycle. And we've got a whole slew of cars, everybody coming in from the top 15 except for Mendez. So Mendez is going to be left out solo here. Very, very interesting to see as we see 14 of the top 15 cars come into pit road.
Yeah, James Mendez, that is an interesting call for him to be staying out there. And he's with lapped cars also. So I don't know if he's going to come in with them or what his strategy call is there. But being out there by yourself with no lead lap cars, that's a dangerous call. But, you know, he's going to be able to lead some laps there, get some bonus points more than likely. Maybe that's his plan to get some bonus points now. But great job by everybody. Almost looked like one of the cars when he was getting down on the apron. Probably got on a little too early. It was the number 6, I believe. Almost lost it, but was able to keep it under control. And everyone got onto pit road safely. Great job by all the drivers.
Yeah, I got to give major credit here to Jolene Sims, the only female driver on the roster here for season 10. And she's done a really, really good job. And over the radio, it sounds like they might review if Jolene gets a black flag from that. They might be reviewing it and taking back that black flag. So we'll have to see what happens here while we run under green, if she's going to get flagged for unsafe pit exit. But now you have a handful of cars pitting in as well. And it looks like the rest of the field might be coming down here shortly. But Jolene looking to make a move here on the outside of the OCM drivers. Will she be able to make a move? And it doesn't look like it. She'll fall back in line. So right now, this is your top 4 as we go through this pit cycle.
And that was a perfect example of what the draft does and what it doesn't do. As Jolene did not like the checkup that those drivers, teammates were doing to try to stay in line with each other. And she tried to take the momentum she had to get past at least one of them. And the momentum just died. She hit that brick wall of air and the draft prevailed, and she just fell right in, back behind, and back there in the 4th in that pack now.
Let's see how far behind these guys are going to come out from the leaders. As you've got Drew Jua coming around, Jared Talmadge coming out, Thomas Green as well. And they're going to be behind, but how far? They came in about 10 seconds or so behind the leaders. Before this whole pit cycle, will they gain some time coming in a lap or 2 after that? But it looks like that top 4 has pulled away. They've got a 3-second gap now to the next group of cars, led by Kevin Urguez, sorry.
Drew Jua going to be able to maintain the lead, and a great head of steam right there by the number 1 of Urguez there, being followed by England and Schulenberger. This group right here, this is a lot of cars in this group. They should get a great head of steam to be able to catch those leaders now.
As long as they can get organized. I mean, you've got a group of, looks like 7, 8 cars there going up against a group of 4. As long as you keep things steady and you're not fighting, you should be able to catch these guys over the course of like 10 or so laps, depending on how quick you're moving. But that's the big problem. You see guys moving around here, wiggling around. Kyle England should be square up against Kevin and not really giving any room for any air to come down there. But you see they're leaving a little bit of gap, maybe a little bit of hesitation to close up that much and really, really push that, because they're losing time here coming around the track. They lost about a 10th that lap.
Yeah, they definitely got to get lined up, and England has got to get up on Miguel's bumper there. I mean, the only time you really want to step that nose out a little bit is if you've been locked up to that rear bumper of the car in front of you and you start to overheat a little bit. Get that nose out of the drag, or away from the bumper, get it out of from behind them a little bit, get some air into that motor and get it cooled down before you get locked up to the bumper again. But they've got to get it tight up. They can't race each other right now. Like this, the odds of us getting a caution right now is going to be pretty slim because these cars now are spread out. So right now it's just kind of line up in a line and catch the leaders as quick as you can kind of thing. Because, I mean, otherwise you're just kind of hoping for a caution that's probably not going to happen unless someone makes a silly mistake.
Yeah, is there a possibility we get flag to flag racing here? I mean, we are 45 laps in. We got our first green flag stop of the season already. It is very, very impressive to see a group, especially that is familiar with the NASCAR heat games. They're very familiar with how those physics work and how the system works, the drafting works, and making that switch to iRacing. Not everybody has been on iRacing for as long as others. Some maybe just got the sim within the past month, and here we are, green flag racing. You've got a chase group of 8 cars, you've got a lead group of 4, you've got some other chase groups across the field. It's made some really interesting racing, and strategy is really going to come into play. But will we see flag to flag here? No cautions for the first race of the season.
And we've got Jolene Sims, the biggest mover of the race right now with 22 positions. So she's definitely done a phenomenal job putting herself in the right place at the right time, with also a really good pit stop time as well. I don't know what this group in the forefront did, if they just took only gas and no tires, if that made the difference. But I mean, this group should have been all together. I don't know who all missed their pit box also, because that's a possibility. You miss your pit box, that's a 1 or 2 second difference there, and that makes all the difference.
Caution is out. We'll have to see what happened there. We'll go back to it in a moment, but we'll see what brought out that caution.
Here we go, lap 47, caution. Almost halfway through the race and we get our first caution. Phenomenal racing by these drivers as well.
Let's see. I'm seeing Fabricio Lamana got involved in some way, so let's see what happened. Oh my, yeah, a little bit of net code involved there. That would be the 23. You've got Cameron Garrison. You got the 31 spinning around all over the place, or is that the 37? I think it's 31 of Fabricio. So some cars really getting involved there. Let's go back on board with Fabricio. See what happened. Got turned the wrong way around the corner from Thomas Green. Oh, and he spun on his hood there a little bit. And then got absolutely nailed there by JT Sipes, the 55. Oh my gosh. What a wreck there.
Well, one positive thing about this league is, like we mentioned, we heard about earlier, they do have one fast repair, so some of these drivers might have to take that fast repair. He's definitely going to need that. That's going to be a meatball flag. That's a heavy wreck. It looked like it was just a bad push. And as we almost halfway through this race without a single caution, the only other Daytona 250 this league has had with no cautions for contact was back in season 3 with NASCAR Heat 3, where Aiden Savetsky won the race for McQuinn's Motorsports.
Jolene missed her pit box by a lot there. So after running 4th place and doing so well, she's going to find herself way back in the field. We see James Mendez and Kevin Yerguelas staying out here. Interesting. You see Brandon Schulenberger moving up to 3rd on that pit exit. Eric O'Connor and Tyler Glass also going to jump Drew Jua and Tim Moore as well. So we have a bit of a shakeup here throughout the field. Some cars taking 4 tires. Some looking like they might just be taking fuel. Some taking 2 sides or 2 sets of tires rather than the full 4. So mix of strategy there. Some not even stopping at all. And so taking a look at things, Kevin Yerguez is going to be your race leader here coming around to lap 49.
Yeah, Daytona is definitely an interesting pit strategy track, as tires really aren't that major of a difference here. The tires really don't wear that much. A lot of it's just, really fuel. It's a lot of the fuel call is where it is. So you got these leaders right now, they chose not to come in as they were some of the last groups to pit. So they've got a little bit more fuel, but I do not believe any of these drivers will still be able to make it to the end on this fuel. So we still have potentially one more green flag pit stop if we continue to go green the rest of this race.
Yeah, it's unlikely we'll be able to go to the end. That'll be a big stretch unless we get a handful of cautions. But as we come around lap 49, I know it's going to be a lap early. But why don't we go ahead and do our mid-race rundown as we get ready to go green. They're going to start double filing up. So coming around here, first place, Kevin Yerguez, James Mendez in second, Brandon Schulenberger in third, Tyler Glass is back in fourth, Eric O'Connor in fifth place, Tim Moore in sixth, Drew Jua in seventh, Jolene Sims in eighth, Kyle England ninth, Thomas Green rounds out the top 10, and going even further, we've got Ryan Miniker in 11th, we've got William Reagan in 12th, Cameron Garrison 13th, Jared Talmadge 14th, 15th is Andrew Miller, 16th Alex Burns, then you've got Isaac Shelley in 17th, Gatlin Downey in 18th, Jeffrey Runka 19th, and Min Hong rounds out your top 20. Going back from there, we've got Jonathan West 21st, 22nd is Bradley Qualls, 23rd Jonathan Amodio, JT Sipes 24th, Jared Newton in 25th, Fabricio Lamana back on track here in 26th, Tyler McDonald currently in the pits in 27th, Jimmy Amos in 28th, Ashton Tackwell 29th, and Vincent DiPizio did not start, so they are in 30th.
Min Hong getting the lucky dog pass there for that caution. It puts him back on the lead lap. So far, we have an unfortunate race for Jonathan West, Bradley Quails, Jonathan Amodio, JT Sipes, Jared Newton, Fabricio Lamana, Tyler McDonald, Jimmy Emos, all your drivers that are laps, a lap or 2 laps down. So they've got definitely some work to be done here, but we're getting ready to come to the green flag as the pace car lights are out and getting ready to dive into pit road. Green flag on the restart zone, it seems like, as we get ready, and the green flag will be out on the leader. And here we go back to green flag racing.
As we go green flag racing this time by, why don't we take a second? We'll crank it up here for a couple laps as we get back up to speed. All right, so we are back. Oh no, just in time for the caution. But we'll see what brought that one out. Looks like Minhong got involved in that after getting the lap back. And I was about to say that was a really clean restart, wasn't it, Richard?
Really clean restart, and while we're at it, we got to give Kevin, I can't even say his last name. I am struggling. Yerguez. Kevin Yerguez led lap 50 and gets the point bonus for stage 1. Is like I said, no stage cautions here, but they do get stage points, as Kevin will now be your points leader as he led the first stage, and there it is. Minhong
there was
getting
something that led up to that, and it was hard to tell what happened. Let's go back again and see if we can rewind that a little bit here. Coming out of turn number 2. Yeah, he just cut across the field. There was no room for him. We'll go back one more time. Let's see if we can see a different angle of that. And we're going to go from up here in the blimp to see what in particular happened as he cut across the field. Goes to avoid the 22. Oh, the 22 came down really far. That makes more sense as to why he came down so much.
And JT Sipes also getting involved there, getting into the 26, I believe? Trying to avoid the wreck. So yeah, there was a car up there against the wall, and he was just trying to avoid it and ended up getting his left rear clipped, and just spun around, and he just couldn't keep it straight, getting it back going on the backstretch, and got stopped on the backstretch, and that's what brought out our caution. As we got, caution flag pit stops again, as everyone's coming down pit road to get tires, get fuel.
Oops,
As it looks like Tim Moore misses pit box.
Oh, Tyler Glass, what a jump out of pit road, is going to take the lead, at least, of those that pitted. But what a move there. So just topping off, now we're getting in a very interesting range, Richard. For these guys that just stopped, another caution or two, they could make it to the end on fuel.
Yes, they definitely could. I believe even under one more caution, if they're running in 5th gear around this track during the cautions and, holding that clutch down, that's going to help save a lot of fuel for these cars. They potentially might be able to push that fuel window to the end of the race. Now, with that being said, if we get into the green-white checkered era, that's where the problem of that strategy could come into play, because they won't have enough fuel for green-white checkered finishes.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. The strategy is starting to play out here, and this is where who's going to have the big brain if we get enough cautions? I mean, that's the question. I mean, I think they need to, in my honest opinion. 46 laps is going to be a big stretch. That's a huge stretch to make on one tank of fuel.
I do believe so. I mean, I do think they can make 40 or 42 laps going, full bore, if I'm not mistaken. So if they can all kind of drive a little bit more conservative, they may be able to push it out. Again, like I said, if they're pushing it in 5th gear right now and holding that clutch down at certain times, trying to save the fuel now under caution, I think one more caution, if they do the same thing, then they can make it on fuel. So we'll see how this plays out. This is a very interesting position for all the drivers. I don't believe the cars that, those 4 drivers out there that did not pit, I don't see them making it on fuel. So I think they're going with the strategy. There's still one more pit stop for everybody. That's what they're going for. So they could be going for that idea, go in, get the green flag stop, get the fuel, and try and beat the cars that could potentially just run out of gas because they miscalculated it. Or they're just going off, let's just stay in the lead, get the laps in. We'll see what the strategies play out to right now.
Oh, while we get ready to come back up to the green flag, everybody's starting to come up double file. I just want to remind you guys that today's coverage of the race here from the OMA VRC is brought to you by Motorsports Today. So make sure you go check that out. You can go listen to it live every Friday at noon Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern over on WRSU.org. Or if you don't make that time, you can always listen back to the archived episodes on Spotify by looking up Motorsports Today. Eddie Kaligi breaks down news in basically any form of auto racing. If it's got 4 wheels and an engine, he's going to talk about it. So make sure you go check him out. Eddie, one of the biggest members here in this organization, unfortunately not able to be in the booth with us tonight, but maybe he'll be joining us for future broadcasts. We'll have to wait and see. But Benny, the pace car driver, is going to bring it off, makes a hard left onto pit road, and we've got Cameron Garrison bringing us to the green. Here we go, gets the jump. It's not going to be a lot to get them out in front of Isaac Shelley. Actually, Isaac Shelley looks like he's going to be able to get ahead of Cameron Garrison here.
You got Jolene Sims right there behind Shelley, also going to give a nice push going into the turn there. They do have... No, Jolene does not have them up, but you're going to drop low. Shelley going to drop below in front of Garrison. Going to take that inside line now. Is Jolene now leading that outside line coming out of turn 2.
Now we saw Brandon Schulenberger get a great push from, I believe it was Mendez on that outside line to be able to get to the lead at the time of the caution. It doesn't seem like he wants to close up to Jolene here, at least early on, as they are still getting up to speed, but they should be full speed as they come around to the tri-oval this time.
And his first lap under green here, Garrison, Shelley able to lead that lap and doing a good job here. Oh, Jolene trying to stay in front of, what is that there? Schulenberger on top. But yeah, it looks like those front 3 right there starting to pull away on the inside line. That outside's got to get lined up. And Tim Moore trying to make his move to get back up in front with his teammates.
We've got 2 wide now, pretty far back. I mean, you mentioned Tim Moore. He's back here in 13th place. But you can see pairing up with teammates, you've got the 74 of Eric O'Connor up there in front of him. That's one OCM driver. And you've got another one of Jujua up there on the high line, but kind of stuck right now. So try to see if they can pair up these OCM guys again, maybe make a run, but we have plenty of time still, as we're still over 40 laps to go until this race comes to an end. But when you see side-by-side racing, we haven't seen this like this tight since the beginning of the race. I mean, I believe it was like lap 5 or so. That's when things really started to fan out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's one good thing about cautions here at Daytona is it does bring the cars all back together, and then we get this exciting side-by-side racing again. So in Jolene getting pushed to the lead coming out of turn 4, she's going to have the momentum. She might be able to lead a lap, but no, she's getting left. It looks like no. Schulenberger not able to get the momentum to pass her, and Shelley will lead another lap. Jolene almost able to lead that lap, but it looked like they were trying to pass her and leave her high and dry there on the inside or the middle lane, but no, they were able not to get the run, and she was able to fall back in line, and that outside line trying to form back up and get another push to the front.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened because they were running really, really well. She had a good gap on Isaac Shelley, and then all of a sudden, coming out of 4, that's when it kind of fell apart. It almost seems like, I mean, you could see Schulenberger, he's running that high line, wants to run along that seam, but then you saw Jolene wanted to run more in the middle of the corners, and Schulenberger was more like, yeah, no, I'm going to run my line whether you want it or not, and got the run off the corner almost to pass her. But there you go. Jolene comes around, takes the lap, gets a lap led. So good move. The outside line is really working nicely. But what is the strategy at this point? Are you going to try and get out and try and jump in front of that bottom line? Because if you're this outside line right now, you're really hoping for another caution because you're going to have to stop and get fuel.
Well, the good thing about being on the inside line, and yes, it might not have the momentum that the outside line has, but if you're on that inside line, like a lot of drivers like to say, that gives you an escape route. If a crash happens around you or anything, like if you're on the outside, you got nowhere to go. You have down into other cars or up into a wall. But here on that inside line, you at least have the apron and the grass to get down in. If you spin out, that's fine. Just don't take damage. So, I mean, me personally, I would get that push to get out there. I mean, unless she's trying to work with Schulenberger there. If I'm all by myself, if I get that push out front, I'm going to, dive low and get in front of that, bottom line.
Who knows? I mean, she might be more comfortable on that outside line. Some people, I mean, it varies for the super speedway. For me, I prefer the inside line around Daytona. I feel like it's the faster line, but at Talladega, the outside line, I think, is the better lane. Right now, tonight, it's proven that outside line has good short run speed if you have the right people with you. And this right now is the right people. You see Brandon Schulenberger doing a really good job of pushing her. You've got Drew Jua, who knows exactly what to do to try and get up to the front, as he is right up on Brandon. That's part of the reason why she keeps getting a run and getting out ahead of Isaac. But the problem is it's just not enough for them to try and take the inside line, I think, right now.
Yeah, I think this is the best we've seen the outside line here, as Jolene and Schulenberger doing a great job running together, especially with Jua right there behind him. He's doing a fantastic job keeping as close as he can to Schulenberger, but not too close to where, because you don't want to push the pusher. Pushing the pusher, you know, spells disaster right there. But they're doing phenomenal there on the outside line. This is the best we've seen that outside line all race so far.
Yeah, but don't discredit the inside line. Take a look at how tight down the backstretch. You got Isaac Shelley, Cameron Garrison, and Andrew Miller all basically tandem down the backstretch. I mean, that is phenomenal displays of bump drafting. But the problem is it's just not enough. You see they lost some momentum around the corner, and now that outside line really gets a good push. I mean, if they get enough momentum, they might be able to clear the front three and get all of them down to the bottom.
Yeah, that outside line doing really good job with all these runs. That inside line just does not have that corner exit run that the outside line does. So we're seeing a really strong resurgence of that outside line this second half of the race.
So far, we're so clean. It's been a really good run here ever since that caution. Doing a really good job getting some good racing here side by side. Jolene goes for the side draft. Interesting call there. Breaks that slipstream a little bit, and that's going to be, I believe, Jolene at the line just by about a hair. But that is enough to keep her in the lead. Another lap led. It looks great. I mean, she is up 25 spots from 26th to first right now. It's a phenomenal run for her. Another big mover in the field is right down the inside line. You got Cameron Garrison and Andrew Miller, both up 14 and 16 spots respectively.
Yes, leading any laps here at Daytona also is just a great feeling. So I bet she is feeling wonderful up there, but also a lot of nerves being the leader because, you know, a lot of the times you can be a sitting duck, especially near the end of the race. It's not the preferred position near the end of the race, but right now doing a great job out there at front. Got that number 6 car, you know, looking really good and doing a fantastic job with that outside line along with Schulenberger.
Yeah, Schulenberger shown to be a really good person to partner up with. Doing a really good job pushing. He's been a very reliable pusher as well. We've seen time and time again that when a line moves, he seems to be somewhere up towards the front of it. So maybe look towards the end of the race for him to partner up with some other drivers if he's up towards the front trying to make a move for the lead. But you see Drew Jua also back there trying to keep him nice and tight. Cameron Garrison comes out of line, almost a little sketchy down the backstretch, but everything is still all okay. See Jolene come down for a second, then decides to hop back out to the top.
And the backside of this group also seems to be a little bit scattered, and we got a lot of cars shifting over there. Looks like it might have been a bad push as we're 3 wide down the tri-oval. And we got a car down on the apron there, trying to get back up onto the track, but not going to get in. He's going to shuffle way back.
Oh, this is going to be dangerous.
Getting back up onto the track safely. Almost lost the joining back out of the track, though.
Yeah, that was a sketchy situation. That is probably going to lose Cameron Garrison the pack here. That is a massive move. I don't know what happened, if it was maybe a bump that went wrong or if he got just a little loose coming out of 3, but something caused him to come out of line. And oh, that was very, very kind there of Alex Burns to back up here. Hopefully they both don't lose the draft, but it looks like Burns should be just enough in there to be able to suck back into the big group, and that'll keep Cameron Garrison from falling way, way off pace.
Yeah, unfortunate situation for Garrison running there up in front, but with that, looks like the top lane has dropped to the low lane. It definitely broke up that top lane for sure. But another great heads-up driving by everybody as they avoid another potential big wreck, as Jolene's still doing a great job here in the lead, being pushed now by Drew Jua.
Yeah, it's interesting to see if you see 3 different teams up here at the front between Jolene and Drew Jua and Thomas Green. So a wide mix of drivers here. And then you have on the top side now, Ryan Miniker and William Reagan coming up through. And we saw Miniker earlier in the race a very good pusher, and now he's going to be taking some pushes from Ryan Miniker as that outside line tries to make some moves here, and they're doing a phenomenal job working their way to the front. As you saw just in that front stretch, they gained about 2 or 3 spots on that outside line.
That outside line has definitely formed back up and is making a full-on charge to the front. As you have Jua's teammate coming up, Miniker there on the outside. Is Jua going to stick here on the low side, or is he going to jump up with a teammate? No, he's going to stick behind Jolene, it seems like, and we're going to stay in line, and Jolene going to come around and lead yet another lap.
Right now, I think if you're Jua and you're trying to look to win this race, the strategy is to ride behind Jolene as long as you can, because the longer you're in that draft, the more fuel you can save. And right now, with how that outside line is not moving, you could go like a 3/4 throttle or so, save a little bit extra fuel. No need to really push if you don't have to at this point, because he's still going to push her, even if he's not full throttle, because he's got Thomas Green behind him to keep him up there as well.
Now, with the pit strategy being talked about again, remember, Jolene did not pit under that last caution, so she will have to come in significantly earlier than Drew Jua. So Drew Jua's got to figure out, who's he going to be with now when Jolene and that group of 4 drivers have to come in and pit before a lot of these other drivers that pit during the last caution.
You can see he is up there real close. Looks like he's almost trying to tandem down the straights. Yeah, he is tandeming. Gets a nice hook up there and then backs off, getting into the corner. We're going to see Ryan Miniker drop down to the bottom. So we're going to take advantage of that high line, making moves there for a little while. And now you see, I believe that is the 20. No, that is not the 20. That is the 55 of JT Sipes at the front of that line. So you got lap cars, actually, that were behind Ryan Miniker on that top line that made a push to the front.
Yeah, JT Sipes 1 lap down, trying to make a run. I mean, that's the downside about super speedways, is if you're a lap down, you kind of got to hope for those cautions, because it is extremely hard to get a lap back and maintain it, because once you get out in front of that leader, like, you have to stay in front of that leader to keep that lap back. So, I mean, he's making a great push here, trying to get that lap back and, hoping that there's a caution and that he doesn't have to worry about the lucky dog then. So, but we'll see what he does here, as he's making a great charge with that outside line there. And Drew looked like he was going to step out there to the outside line, but he stays behind Jolene. And just follow the leader right now is what it is.
Yeah, he thought about it there for a moment, decided against it. But I wouldn't be surprised if here, maybe coming around turn 4, he decides to jump up, because that outside line's been having a really good run in the front stretch. And here they come around again. Nope, he's not going to go. He's going to keep staying on that inside again. I think that's the best move to make, though. The longer he can save fuel, the better, because that'll set him up for the end as long as this thing stays green.
Yeah, that outside line definitely lost their momentum, as well as they're falling back. And we've got a 3-car breakaway up here between Jolene, Jua, and Green, as that back group still trying to shuffle in. We got JT finally shuffling into that bottom lane, is going to sit there and follow Miniker now as he sucks up right up to Thomas Green's bumper.
They're having a phenomenal run here up front. The top 3 we've seen pretty consistent now between Jolene Sims, Drew Jua, and Thomas Green. And then rounding out your top 5, we've got Ryan Miniker and Isaac Shelley so far. But taking a look through the rest of this top 10, or sorry, not top 10. Yeah, top 10. You've got another big mover in Jonathan West. He has moved up 19 spots since the start of this race, so he's had some phenomenal gains. Now, part of it might have been pit strategy. He has not pitted in the past 32 laps. Last time he came down pit road was lap 41, so don't be surprised if you see him come down within the next 15 laps.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I see green flag pit stops about to start happening again here soon, especially for the couple drivers that didn't hit that last caution. The majority of the field's still going to be able to run probably another 10 to 15 over that, but we'll see what's going on as everyone just kind of lines up now. There's not really any too wide driving anymore. Everyone's just going to drop into that low line, get in the draft, and just kind of ride around the track now and wait for their moment.
Yeah, the field is spread out a good bit here, and oh, here we go. Interesting move. We see Jolene Sims come to the outside, is going to try and look for a gap to the inside. Is she going to... Oh, no! JT Sipes said, no, we're going to move! Oh, this is not good here for Jolene. She moved to the outside to try and drop in line, and JT Sipes might have messed her up. Nope, thankfully there's a gap between Isaac Shelley and JT Sipes. She's able to fall in line and hopefully can save a little bit of fuel to try and stretch this a little bit longer before she has to come into pit lane.
Yeah, I'm interested on what that move was. It probably was just to get out of that lead to try to get back in the pack to start saving fuel because, I mean, she is, like I said, she's running on a little bit longer than all those other drivers. So I don't think she was expecting JT up there to give her a nice little bump, but she's able to file back into the inside here as she has fallen back to 4th place. JT trying to make a move on the outside. Doesn't really have any help out there. Not sure what the plan is. The guy into the the quarter panel, though. Not sure what that was about. I think that was just trying to side draft gone wrong, really. So
he might have cleared himself there. It also seemed like it's kind of hard to tell what had happened. But thankfully, we don't have any wreck or anything like that. But that top 3 now pulling away. Jolene Sims going to try and get Jonathan Amodio pushing back up to the front. They need a little bit of help from JT Sipes in order to get there. We'll see if they can regain on these leaders as they are now a second away. And this breaks up that draft. This could be a very, very dangerous situation for this rest of the pack. But I mean, it's just 3 cars. They shouldn't be able to run away. They shouldn't be able to run away much further than they already are.
I mean, you say that, but if that backpack there cannot get lined up and, you know, tagged up together, and they keep racing like this side by side, that top 3 could definitely still pull away. I mean, side-by-side racing, you're going to slow both lines down. It's just going to happen. So this is definitely a sight that those drivers up there want to see as they're all fanning out coming out of turn 4. Everyone trying to get to that outside line. Jolene leading the pack again as she's back with her teammate of Schulenberger.
I wonder if the 7 has damage. It seems like Amodio might be damaged in some sort of way because he is slower than the rest of the field coming around there. But regardless, they get around. We'll see if they can gain some ground. They have about a 1.5 seconds to make up now on that lead group. It shouldn't take them long given how big this pack is. But it's just a matter of fact that group separated is quite surprising. You don't see that often in a super speedway like this.
No, not very often. That group of 3 up there, they just kind of checked out. So this backpack, they have got to get lined up. They got to get close to each other's bumper. I mean, granted, we're not at a point right now where they need to make moves because there's still pit stops that need to be made. They're not going to make this on fuel. So, I mean, we still have 23 laps of racing still.
Yeah, looking through the field, I mean, the number of drivers that need to come in. We've got Jolene Sims, you've got Isaac Shelley, you've got Jonathan West, Andrew Miller, and Cameron Garrison. They were the ones on the lead lap, that is, that did not stop at lap 53. There's a few other lap cars that did not stop at lap 53. However, right now they're currently a lap down. Now, between lap 47 and 53, we did run, I think it was 3 green flag laps, if I remember correctly. So it's not like it was a crucial amount, but that's still fuel that you could have come in, topped off, and then made sure you were almost certain to go to the end. It's going to be tight. That window is very, very narrow right now. Those drivers that pitted at 53, I think, still are hoping for a caution, because if they don't get it, I don't know if they can make it.
Yeah, I don't think any driver, honestly, can make it on fuel. I think everybody's going to have to come in for a green flag stop. But some of these drivers might push it to the very limit there in hopes for a caution. Because that, I mean, that can save a lot of time on pit road if it's just a caution. Everyone can pit under there. Especially for the leader, Drew Jua. He's probably in that window where he's probably not going to make it on fuel the rest of the race. So pitting under green could be disastrous for any of these drivers, honestly. But that back group finally catching up to those front 3. And now we've got the pack together again.
Yeah, we've actually got an outside line moving as well. The 35 of Kyle England getting a little bit of help from Jonathan West on that outside line, as well as Jonathan Amodio. They're making some great headway up against the wall. They're up to 4th place. Can they get past Ryan Miniker for 3rd? They do. How much further can they go as they seem to be gaining a couple extra between Jolene Sims and Brandon Schulenberger. Here comes the race for the lead as they come around the tri-oval. Jujua getting a good push from Thomas Green, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough momentum to get up to the front here for Kyle England. But the backstretch is where they really made that push. So can they get set up yet again to go for another run down the backstretch?
Outside line got a lot more cars lined up and hooked up together. That inside only got 4. Looks like the 98 of Shelley's kind of out of the draft for that inside line. If honestly, he needs to get up to the outside, as he does right there, jumping in right behind Tyler Glass. And Jolene dumping to the inside with Schulenbergers. They're going to try to make that bottom line work and leave those 3 out there to drive by themselves. So back to the inside for Jolene, right behind that of Sipes.
Yeah, we see Brandon Schulenberger also jump down to the inside. So that outside line, just as quickly as it gained a whole lot of steam, it seems like it's fizzled out. And that seems to be the story. Every time we see an outside line, they get a run, they've got momentum, it looks like they can make a push, and then it dies at third place. It's this big build-up, this big anticipation, and then it just kind of fizzles out. So eventually, we are going to see this outside line work, but it just hasn't seemed to be able to get put together quite yet. And now the inside line, you see a little bit of a gap. Thomas Green and Drew Jua doing a really good job working together here. Ryan Miniker hanging back a little bit, but Kyle England right now kind of stuck out there with Eric O'Connor. They're just kind of riding around on that outside, lingering around where Ryan Miniker is.
And I will say, though, Jolene, Brandon Schulenberger, William Reagan, and Tyler Glass all lined up right there, all teammates as well. So they're all working together. They're trying to plan out, I guess, what their thoughts are on for a green flag pit stop. Are they going to come in together? I think that would be the smarter choice for all 4 of them, so they can at least come out in a decent-sized group. Tim Moore, though, back there, sitting in 10th position, just inside the top 10, trying to get back up with his teammates. And that outside line, the 35 of England, trying to make another run to the front as O'Connor and the number 7 there trying to get in line as they drop down behind Sipes. And this could be a good push to get up to the lead.
Yeah, talking about Tim Moore, he did not have a very good pit stop there under that caution. He ended up running past his pit stop. And so it ended up really dropping him back. But as we switch over to him, decides he's going to make the run for the outside, and he's going to gain himself a lot of ground really quickly. And that brings him up next to Brandon Schulenberger. And so we'll see what his plan is. He's got teammate Eric O'Connor right ahead of the number 7 here. We'll see if he's going to continue to try and make some moves and see if he can pair up with his teammates. He's got one of them at the front of the field right now with Drew Jua. He's getting a little dicey with the lap car coming around. It looks like Kyle England, is he coming down to the inside? Nope, it looks like he's going to stay. Oh, never mind. No, he does come to the inside. So now Eric O'Connor leading this outside line, trying to see if they maybe can make a push, as they've got the 81 of Runka trying to suck on up to this outside line and give him a little bit more steam.
Yeah, I wonder if they're trying to get the 48 of Miniker up there with them as well to get some teammates lined up again. Because you've got Tim Moore and all his teammates there, right there up in front. So I think they're all trying to link up again, as well as McGinnis Motorsports is all pretty much lined up. You know, this is a 2-team battle for the most part. A lot of teammates up here together. But we've got some great side-by-side racing here in the mid-pack.
Well, now we're getting to the question of where do you need to stop for fuel? Because there's no drivers, at least what we think. I mean, you never know. Sometimes in the car you manage to find some extra tenths of a gallon, but at least from our calculations we're able to run in our head, it doesn't seem like anybody's going to be able to make it on fuel, even the drivers that stopped at lap 53. But with 15 to go, it's going to be really, really tight window. You're going to need to come in for a splash and go. But in that number, do you calculate for overtime? One thing that we've talked about a little bit is the fact that there's unlimited GWCs. So, I mean, from there, if you have a caution, you could get caution after caution after caution until we finally get a finish. There could be one car on track and we'll still go back to the yellow to make sure we can get a finish under green. So then you have to start to calculate, if it goes to green, white, checker, do you want to put extra fuel in the tank for that? Do you want to try and just plan to finish under green? What is your strategy for filling up? Because you could come and essentially take like 3 to 5 gallons, and that might be enough to make some of these cars get to the end. It's in and out 5 seconds.
You know, I think that's one thing that a lot of drivers take for granted here at, the super speedways of Talladega and Daytona is, yeah, it's a lot of just driving in a line and making the right moves at the right time, and sometimes a lot of luck. But strategy for fuel, that is huge because of the green-white checkered introduction into the NASCAR series. That has changed a lot of strategy as they're all coming down to pit road. Here we go. We got green flag pit stops. A lot of these lead lap drivers coming down as they all looks like they'll make it on pretty cleanly there.
Yeah, we've had very, very good green flag pit stops. Drew Jewell leads this crew down. It's OCM Racing and a couple others coming in with them. And it looks like the other team is staying out a little bit longer here. So Jaylene Sims is leading the field. And we'll take a second. We'll go ahead and pull up the track map so you can get an idea of where they are on track. And Drew Jewell is going to lead this pack out. However, it is going to be the 3 of Thomas Green who's going to get the lead off of pit road.
Very, very quick pit stops by all of them. That looked like that was a fuel-only stop for all those drivers. And the other group, the front group, Jolene coming in all by herself. Jolene all by herself. This is detrimental for her lead run there. She's not going to have any help coming out of the pits. This was not what you want to see as a driver.
I wonder if there's a miscommunication there. I mean, she, again, out of the group she was running with, she was the one that pitted on lap 47. Everybody else had pitted on lap 53. So she might have been coming out of fuel there just as she came in, because we're about 40 laps from when she last pitted. But at the same time, I mean, if you're this group, why would you not go in with your teammate? Or at least with the person you've been working with? There is strength in numbers when it comes to super speedway racing. I mean, at this point, they might be hoping for a caution, but even still, I mean, I don't know, in just my opinion, I mean, you got a little bit of loyalty there. You've been working with, especially like Brandon Schulenberger. I mean, we've seen Brandon Schulenberger and Jolene pair up time and time and time again here in this race. So why not pit in with her? That'll give you a chance to be able to at least come in, go as a group, and hopefully maybe jump that first group.
Yeah, definitely a questionable call there. But I mean, Jolene definitely more than likely needed to pit. She's definitely running on fumes pretty much. But it looks like she might have got lucky and got onto that pack that came in first. Looking at the map, she does look like she might have the tail end of the draft of Thomas Green there.
Close.
It's very close. I don't know. She might have it. So she might have gotten a little luck. Nope, she's losing it.
Yeah, she lost a lot of time.
So almost
sure That's a shame for her, though. She was running really, really well. So in her case now, she's hoping for a caution. But that group here, you can see where their Drew Jewell is in the lead now. And then for lead pack, the current leaders are going down the middle of the backstretch. So you can see, at least in relation on the track. But how much longer can these guys go? We've got 10 laps to go. Coming around, 9 next time. And right now, Brandon Schulenberger, currently your race leader.
Yeah, Schulenberger now getting some laps led here. Going to get some bonus points for that. But, I mean, just kind of leaving the teammate there. I mean, he's with other teammates as well of Reagan and Glass. But just leaving Jolene to go all by herself, I don't feel that was the right call as a team. Unless they're 100% positive they can make it on fuel. There's only 9 laps to go. It could be a possibility that they make it on fuel. I mean, my math could have been wrong earlier. So they're probably playing the long game with fuel and they don't need to pit, especially since they're in the draft behind these lap cars.
Yeah, maybe they saved. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. I mean, looking last lap around, they ran a 45.6. If you take a look at the chase group of Drew Jewell, Tim Moore, Eric O'Connor, Kyle England, and Thomas Green, they ran 45.2s. So they ran about 0.4 a second faster that last time. So this group, it almost seems like they're in fuel save mode. Oh, sorry. I read the wrong numbers. I meant 47.8 and 45.5. So you're running almost 2 seconds slower. So they are in hardcore save mode right now, trying to see if they can make it to the end.
Yeah, they are definitely saving as much fuel as they possibly can, running 2 seconds slower than the first pack that came in for a pit. So they could be just trying to stretch this fuel out. We'll see if that strategy plays out. I mean, 10 seasons of running Daytona. They know what they're doing overall. So we'll see if this is a good call by them. I mean, this could be the race winning decision by Schulenberger, Reagan, and Glass to be the podium finishes for teammates.
Yeah, right now, if you take a look on the gap here, they have a 23-second lead over the next group. So that is just absolutely massive. But, I mean, they're losing time at about 2 seconds a lap. So even at that, if they can save fuel to the end, if they can make it without running out, even by that point, the other group is only going to be about 10 seconds away. So we'll see what's going to happen, because even the group of Min Hung, Alex Burns, and Jeffrey Runka here, they're not going to be able to catch because they're running very similar lap times. They're maybe 0.3 faster a lap, but it's not going to be enough to gain you 8 seconds.
Yeah, well, we got
they're going to come down to pit road.
They're going to come into pit road here. We got Min Hong and Burns coming in together. Burns missing pit road, sliding out into the tri-oval grass. That is the danger coming into pit road here at Daytona. Too much speed and locked the tires up, sliding into the grass of the tri-oval. And that is, I do believe, going to be a black flag for unsafe pit entry.
Yeah, that'll be a black flag, unfortunately. That's going to be a hold. We hear a couple cars that are coming into pit road. I believe those are some of the lap cars up here that might be coming in. We see the number 1 go around here of Urguez, and Schulenberger still holding on to this lead, just hoping and clutching to that little bit of draft that he can get from these lap cars. And look at that gap. This group back here is just fanned out so much. I mean, if we go from above, you could see how far this group has spread out, just trying to make sure they're not pushing. They're all saving fuel in different ways. And now we see a couple drivers maybe trying to make a move. We see the 20 coming around, but he is a lapped car. So if he gets his lap back, who cares if you're Brandon Schulenberger?
This is a very gutsy strategy. This is a very...
Oh, no, there's a turn!
20 spins out Schulenberger as a caution comes out. I am not sure what happened there and why he got in the quarter pack. I don't know if Schulenberger didn't give him the room, but there we go. The race leader spun out in turn 3 and caution with 5 to go. This shakes up everything now for the end of the race.
Oh my gosh, the 20 getting his lap back accidentally turns the race leader. So let's see this here. Let's go on board so you can get an idea of what happened. But here is the viewpoint from Andrew Miller. There's a gap there. He sees it. He's going to take it. And Schulenberger comes down on top. It looks like a little bit of a racing incident, but still, I mean, that's the race leader. You got to... There's no need to really make that push. I mean, you're a lucky dog even if a caution does come out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, but at the same time, he had the position there. I think that was just a block gone wrong on Schulenberger's part. That is very unfortunate for him, for all those drivers up front that were trying to make it on fuel. You know, I wonder if they're still going to try to push this, because we might be running into potential green-white checkered here. And that could be very dangerous for these cars that haven't pit yet.
We might get a natural green-white checkered first. It's going to be kind of hard to tell. But even then, I mean, wouldn't be surprised to see some cars come down. And it looks like we're going to have William Reagan, our race leader, come down with Tyler Glass behind him. Brandon Schulenberger going to have to come down for damage there, because that right front took a little bit of a beating against the wall. But Jeffrey Runka also comes down pit road. But only about 5 cars that come down. So a little surprising to see what I think is fewer cars than I expected come down pit road.
You know who's excited to see this caution? Jolene Sims, who came down all by herself, lost the draft, up to 7th position now, in a great spot to potentially go for that win. She is definitely excited to see this caution.
Yeah, this is a huge salvation for her. She really needed this to be able to save her race. So now she's got an opportunity to try and make some moves. She's been a really, really good runner all race long. So we'll see if she's going to be able to do it here yet again. But while we have a moment, if you've enjoyed seeing some of the cars on track here, and you were looking to get some paints for yourself, make sure you check out FRG Designs. They are the design shop, the official graphic designer for OMA. So make sure you go check out FRG Designs. As well, if you're looking for more about the Online Motorsports Association, they have all sorts of league between Gran Turismo, between NASCAR Heat Games. Make sure you go check them out over on Twitter. It's at OMA_league. Again, that is at OMA_league. So you can stay up to date on all sorts of news, any exclusive content, links to streams, and all sorts of things related to the Online Motorsports Association. Speaking of leagues, make sure you join them on Friday nights for their online touring championship for road racing all over the world here. You can see all sorts of different drivers battle it out in NASCAR Heat in the virtual racing series for season 9, and they have double headers that start every Friday at 6:45 p.m. So make sure you check out the Twitter for that. But we are going to be going to our first overtime, it looks like. Yep, there it is. It's going to be official. It is going to be a green-white checkered here for Season 10 kickoff at Daytona 250. This is going to be an exciting finish. Do you think we finish it on the first try, Richard?
Ooh, I don't know. There's, a lot of drivers making very gutsy moves now. I think we might see at least one more green-white checkered before we get a clean finish. So Jolene down on the apron, probably trying to save fuel. She probably got a splash and go when she came in by herself. So we'll see here. This is officially in the green-white checker. This is NASCAR overtime now. So a lot of gutsy moves about to come out here. Jolene Sims actually going to be in 8th position. That's where they're scoring her right now. So she's going to be starting outside on the 4th row. Not a bad position, honestly. A lot of teammates right next to each other. They got Tim Moore along with Drew Jua right there, and the 74 of O'Connor. Teammates, they're definitely going to look to line up and push each other to the lead to try to score that team's win for the start of the season.
Yeah, I would not be surprised here if when we go green, you see Tim Moore just bail on James Mendez and try to get the high line to push one of his teammates to the win. And like you said, he's got Drew Jua and Eric O'Connor up there. So I would not be shocked to see him move to the outside. Maybe Eric O'Connor will give him some room. But the field coming around for the first green-white checkered here in overtime for the OMA VRC. Here we go. Green flag is out, and James Mendez gets a phenomenal jump. But that might play to the advantage of OCM. You see Drew Jua jump down to the inside in front of Tim Moore. These two have been electric when it comes to tandem drafting. They're going to push to the high side. Eric O'Connor is right behind. You've got the number 3 as well of Thomas Green. Down to the inside line, though, you've got James Mendez pushed by Kyle England as they come down the back stretch. It's going to be Drew Jua and Tim Moore both coming ahead. You've got Eric O'Connor also pulling ahead. Major drop-off here from James Mendez, and Drew Jua comes to lead. First 4 are clear as Thomas Green comes down to the inside. Jolene Simzo gets hung out to dry. And so right now it's an OCM 1-2-3, but a caution comes out.
Another caution. There it is coming out of 4. Huge wreck coming out of 4 also. A lot of drivers kind of excited to see this also, as you saw Schulenberger getting through there, getting further up the field. Looks like we're going to be lining up for another green-white checkered, and that could be dangerous for a few drivers because there are a few of them trying to save. Wow, a huge car down to the grass there.
Yeah, I want to go back and see that one more time because that was William Reagan.
A rocket ship coming through the apron. What happened? Can we rewind that a little bit more? What caused that?
Yeah, I want to see. Hold on, there we go.
Finding the rewind button. It looks like just 3 wide, and yeah, 3 wide racing got into the corner panel.
Didn't realize the car was there.
Nope. And just straight down into the grass. And when you're down on that grass in these cars, it is like you are on ice skates. There is no braking, there's no turning, nothing. And the 36 just bouncing off other drivers as he got back up on the track. Huge wreck going into turn 3, and even bigger coming out of turn 4. A lot of drivers involved in this one.
Yeah, I want to see what happened coming out of turn 4. We'll go take a look at Isaac Shelley's point of view here. It almost looks like a bump that went wrong here. Coming around turn number 3, gets involved with Tyler Glass, gets a bump, puts him up to the wall, causes a little bit of shakeup in things, bunches up the field, and yeah, he just ends up getting tagged there. They're trying to go 4 wide, where you really can't go 4 wide on this track.
No, Daytona is actually a very, very narrow track compared to like that of Talladega, where you can pretty much drive 3 wide for very long periods of time, and even 4 wide decently comfortable. But we're going to go to green white checkered number 2 as Drew Jua and Tim Moore, my apologies, they're in first and second with O'Connor in third. That team, OCM Motorsports or OCM Racing, with the podium finishes right now if it was a finish.
Yeah, they put themselves in a really good position here. We'll see if they can hold it that way, as Thomas Green is back there in 4th place. But taking a look here, Jolene Sims, she is in 7th. We didn't see too much of a drop-off for her, even though she got hung out to dry on that top line. So taking a look here as we go through the top 10 real quick, just to give you a little bit of an update after that wreck, we had a big shakeup in the back end of that. So we've got your leader, Drew Jua, Tim Moore in 2nd, Eric O'Connor 3rd, Thomas Green 4th, Kyle England rounds out the top 5, Min Hong in 6th, Jolene Sims in 7th, Jeffrey Runka in 8th, Brandon Schillenberger in 9th, and then Jarrett Talmadge rounds out the top 10. Tyler Glass, who had a really good run throughout this race, currently finds himself outside of the top 10. Hopefully that hit into the wall didn't cause too much damage. I don't think he came in, but we'll see if his car's going to be able to run okay after that.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see if his run's okay after that. And let's give a shout out to Min Hong here, who was a lap down earlier in the race, up here in 6th position. Min Hong also a free agent in this league, no teammates to work with, so he's definitely got to make some friends out there. Let's see who he can work with to, hopefully pull off a great win, for the number 2 car.
Well, and also you can't forget to mention that Min Hong is a rookie as well, so he is coming in here. He ran phenomenally well. Everybody in the league was talking about him out during the preseason, how he was just a strong front runner, looked to have a lot of promise. And so it's been a little bit of a disappointing race for him, but here we go, coming into the 2nd green-white checkered. He finds himself in 6th place. He's got himself in a good spot. So we'll see if he can keep that up. Maybe, like you said, find his way up to the podium, maybe even a win.
So, but again, he's all out there by himself, no teammate against a lot of teammates of other teams all around him. So we've got a great, you have Schulenberger right behind Jolene as well. Those two can hook up and work together finally on the inside line there. You got England up there. You have OCM Racing, all 3 of them in 1, 2, 3. So, a lot of teammates here working together. So let's see if Min Hong can work with somebody to stay up here in the lead or in the front pack.
Yeah, and it's very interesting taking a look here at how Drew Jua chose the outside line. He's been the fastest driver. Tim Moore is very good at pushing. Drew Jua is really good at leading. So is the strategy for Jua to get a good jump here in the restart zone and then come down to the inside and just lead with the OCM guys? Or is he going to let those guys up? We'll have to see what's going to happen. But don't be surprised to maybe see if Tim Moore tries to go for a win himself. He's been pushing really well all race, but really hasn't been able to be in the lead. So here we go. 2nd time up through the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out. Drew Jua is away. He gets a phenomenal jump, and he's going to look to dive to the inside. But Thomas Green says, "You're taking me with you." What a jump from the 3 car. He's going to break up this OCM party, and he's got a phenomenal push. They are tandem back to Tim Moore. And now coming around, you see Min Hong, unfortunately, doesn't have any help. He's going to drop back. So right now, it is Drew Jua in the lead, Thomas Green in 2nd, Tim Moore in 3rd. And it's going to be a phenomenal push here as they go tandem. Tim Moore goes the outside, and now OCM all goes the outside. They're going to try and leave Thomas Green high and dry. He's going to try and get up and break up Eric O'Connor. They're trying as much as they can to keep a 1, 2, 3 for the OCM guys, as now you see the 35 of Kyle England get in there, almost causing a wreck against Thomas Green. Jolene Sims in the 6th tries to make a move, gets put in the sucker hole, so now you have the 2 of Min Hong coming around. We take the white flag, so the next flag we take is gonna be be the checker. This race is official, and we've got a nice tandem push here from Tim Moore coming into turn number 2. Drew Jua still leads the lead. Is it OCM 1, 2, 3? Thomas Green still back. Can he make a move? Is he going to get any help from Kyle England? Eric O'Connor gets a bit of a push. That's going to drop him off. Kyle England getting a push here from the 81 of Jeffrey Runka. And then 5 of Brandon Schulenberger gets turned. That's going to cause a massive wreck into turn number 3, as now you see a front group pull away. It's going to be Tim Moore, Drew Jua tandem into the front stretch. They're going to go around the tri-oval. Jua tries to block Tim Moore around to the front. It's going to be Drew Jua, your season numbers 8 and 9 champion, is going to take the season 10 Daytona 250.
Very exciting finish there as O'Connor tried making a great push coming out of 4, but not enough steam, as Tim Moore even tried going for the win as they all crossed the line side by side. And OCM a 1-2 finish, and Drew Jua taking home the season opener for season 10 here at the Daytona 250.
Wow, that was an incredible way to end that race. And I want to see, let's go back here a little bit here and see what happened with Schulenberger, because that was just really intense, really tight the whole way. We'll see if we can figure out what caused this wreck here as they came into turn number 3. Eric O'Connor coming down just a little far, and you can see just it caught anybody that was coming around. You look into turn number 3 there, it is just a pile up. What a wreck that was, but a phenomenal race nonetheless. Lots of green flag racing, very strong running. You see all the OCM guys are going to join up here on the front stretch to see the reigning 3-time champion, but back-to-back champion Drew Jua celebrate here around the tri-oval. And while we're letting him celebrate a little bit, let's take a look at the final results. So again, race winner is Drew Jua, second place Tim Moore, third place Kyle England. And then if we go outside of that top 3, we've got Jeffrey Runka in 4th, Eric O'Connor in 5th, Jonathan Amodio 6th, Tyler Glass in 7th, Ryan Miniker in 8th, then Kevin Yerguez in 9th, and Thomas Green in 10th. Richard, why don't you take the next 10?
Right, coming in 11th was Cameron Garrison, 12th, Jarrett Talmadge, Isaac Shelley finishing out 13th, and Min Hong dropped all the way down to 14th. James Mendez hitting the 15th position, and Jolene Sims, a strong run earlier, finishes 16th with teammates Brandon Schulenberger and William Reagan following 17th and 18th. 19th position goes to Andrew Miller, followed by Jared Newton, rounding out the top 20.
And then taking out 21st is going to be Gatlin Downey. And then 22nd, Alex Burns. 23rd, Jonathan West. 24th, JT Sipes. 25th, Bradley Qualls. 26th, Tyler McDonald. 27th, Jimmy Amos. 27th, Fabricio Lamana. And then rounding out our field, we have 29th, Ashton Tackwell. And 30th, Vincent DiPizio, who did not start. So we're going to take a moment here to get our race winner in the booth with us. So we'll get a couple words from him. Just give us one moment here. Looks like he might have run out of fuel on pit road. Let's see if he is where he is at and see if we can pull him on down. We've got Drew right there. Porter will cooperate. We'll get him with us here in just a moment. We'll get there eventually. Sorry about that. I'm having a little bit of technical issues with Discord and dragging him down. There we go. We've got Drew Jua on the line, your Daytona 250 Season 10 winner, as well as your back-to-back champion. And Drew, how's it feel to come away with that one?
Oh, man. There aren't words to describe this. I mean, coming in, and this is the first race on iRacing for OMA, and for us to have, 3 cautions in regular time. I think we had, 2 overtime finishes, but I have no words. That exceeded my expectations like tenfold. I said it in the chat. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm super pumped for the victory. Don't get me wrong, but having so many guys come over from NASCAR Heat, and for this race to go caution free for the first 40 laps, knowing how tough these next gens are off the corners, especially with the offset. I have no words. I'm so happy right now. I I was so worried coming in, but I just want to say thank you to you guys for broadcasting for us. I got no words, man.
Yeah, no problem. We really appreciate bringing this race. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but all race long, we saw you running up at the front, and I mean, it seemed like you were very comfortable taking a push, but later in the race, when things got separated, what was your guys' strategy? I mean, it seemed like you guys were trying to pair up as the race went on after that, like the wreck, I think it was lap 53, or there was something that had happened. I think it was the pit stops that separated the team a good bit. But as you guys were racing, it seemed like you got to the front. We had Tim hanging further back. What was the strategy going throughout that?
Yeah, we kind of wanted to pit as a team, come in and like I think we pitted lap 39. After that, we kind of pulled away. Then we had that caution where we topped off and we lost all of our track position. And the plan was to try and save it. And I sat in the second lane behind I think it was the 6 and the 5, and I was kind of going half throttle, and I realized that I really wasn't going to be able to save enough. I was still short while I was saving pretty hard, so I kind of said screw it, and I was going to go lead. And my teammates slowly decided that they weren't going to be able to save it. I know the only person that said they were really going to be good was the 92, and he decided to short pit, and we were flying, but we pitted too little too late. We weren't going to be able to catch him. There was no caution, but we were there at the right time. Me, Tim, 74 Barrick, 35 Kyle England. We got in the right lane together. We worked together, and I don't really know what happened. Tim was just directing me, and he said he wasn't going to make a move until the tri-oval, and he didn't get the side draft that he needed on me, and came home victorious. Yeah, first iRacing race for OMA ever.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal win for you, and now looking to become Mr. 3-time. What's the plan now? Is this part of the master strategy to get the first win here and really just build some confidence going into the title defense, trying to become the first three-peat winner here in OMA?
Yeah,
or champion, that is.
Oh yeah, we're gonna try and win another. We had a lot of success on heat, and I'm glad that we could bring it back over and we could translate it in iRacing. But I'm super excited for next week. This race was incredible. Like I said, I've been saying over and over again, but this race exceeded my expectations. I was really worried coming in, and a lot of people coming over from NASCAR Heat. It's a completely different game, completely different console, and for us to have 3 cautions in 100 laps, I think that's the lowest that like the Daytona 250 has had in multiple seasons. So, once again, like I said, thank you so much for broadcasting for us. It was I don't know what to say. I'm pretty speechless. I'm just super pumped about tonight, and it's not even because of the win. This is a really big win for the league as a whole. So we'll go to Auto Club next week, and we'll try to go back to back.
Yeah, you guys put on quite the show tonight. So thank you for joining us here in the booth, Drew, and go celebrate the great start to your title defense.
Thank you.
All right, so now we've got Tim Moore up here in the booth, and Richard, you can take it away.
Hey, Tim, great run tonight. Second place and a top 1, 2, 3 for the team as well. How are you feeling after that run?
Man, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of have a tear coming to my eye. I talked to you guys before the race and even during qualifying, and I was worried about how this race was going to be. But to be honest with you, I'm pretty dang on proud of this group. We went a full 45 laps, 46 laps before we had our first caution. We had green light pit stops, and everything cycled itself out nicely. I overall had a really fun race, and we tried to save gas there, coming to the end, but we just kind of decided that if we break up this pack, those guys saving aren't going to be able to make it. So we went a different route, and we tried as a team to come down pit, take fuel on ourselves in the spot, and we got the track position there at the end. It was only about 4-6 cars, whatever our pack was, for 2.5 seconds faster than the field, lap. But man, I mean, we were on fire there right to the end. Drew has always been my partner. He's one of my best friends for the reason, along with Eric. It stinks for Thomas. I feel there towards the end. I know him and Eric got tangled up. I don't know if netcode started, but they're racing hard. But I worked with the same two cars, for the most part, up in front all race long, and I'm pretty dang on proud that even though I know Eric, I think he got fifth. I don't even know where he finished, to be honest with you. But I just know the fact that we were still able to take the podium, to me, is a really, really big accomplishment because I can only maybe say that we did that once, and that wasn't all drivers from the same team, in this event. So I know it's not a win. I wanted to win this thing 3 times so badly, but you know what? I can live with finishing second to Drew for the 100th time or 100,000th time, it feels like, in my career. That kid earned today. He laps. He did what he can do, and I know I'm making this long, but man, I'm just so proud of everybody, and I'm so proud of this team. We worked our tail off for 3 or 4 weeks, and to start to tone off right is all I can ask for. So I'm just real happy with this.
Yeah, that is a phenomenal start to the OCM racing, especially taking the podium sweep for here at Daytona, and Eric finishing fifth as well. That's just a phenomenal race by you guys in that team. I mean, overall, this race was very clean by all of the drivers, especially coming over from console of NASCAR Heat to your guys' first race on the sim of iRacing. What's your experience on how, like, what do all the drivers think? How did the race handle versus the NASCAR Heat? Did they all enjoy this? Like, I mean, we saw a lot of, jostling around by a lot of, there's actually a lot of straight driving as well. A lot of people did phenomenal. So, I mean, how did you all feel during the entire race?
Well, I think it's a tale of two different stories. I did feel everybody felt very relaxed as laps went on early on in the race, but I definitely feel the one thing about the set here, unfortunately, Daytona, maybe not as much is when you have the offset, it's like default cranked up a little bit. We saw a lot of people kind of windshield wiping. I like the turn where you kind of loose off the exits of corner early on in the race, but as the track cooled down, the track got faster. We didn't get to the nighttime transition, which I'm actually surprised about because we set the time up to, maybe get to that time. But we ended up kind of being, nice and relaxed as the race got on. You kind of had an idea of who you can work with, who you couldn't. And to be honest with you, I know we had a caution where a lap car wrecked leader there towards the end of the race, and we'll talk about that, with the individuals involved, because, I can understand a bit of betting, but overall, I would say everybody really had patience and confidence and really enjoyed it as the race went on. The only complaint I think anybody, if they're at the end of the race, was like, hey guys, why are we single file come to the end? If you want to win this thing, we got to go. And that's the biggest transition from Heat. Bottom line, dominated most plate races, how to really work the high. It's only much bottom around Daytona. So a lot of these guys, are getting right into the loop and trying to learning how to push in the second, third lane. So a lot of guys enjoyed it. I think that was really the only criticism of tonight for a lot of these drivers, what they need to do differently when we go to Talladega later on the season.
Well, it was a very exciting race to watch. And again, 46 green flag laps to start off the season. A phenomenal show by you guys in this series. So again, Tim, thanks for coming up to the booth, and great finish in second place right behind your teammate.
Thank you. And if I could just say one more thing, of course, I want to thank you guys for the 10th annual Daytona 250. It's been absolutely remarkable. And I said this in the race, I don't know if Alex, if you have race control on in the middle or not, or if you guys do as well, but I feel that today proved a lot for me that the league is worthy of having broadcasted each race. So Alex, I'll get in connect with you after this, but the plan I think moving forward is we're going to try to find a way to get this race, this league broadcasted each week, more than just the 6 races we had planned, or 5 or 6. I don't remember what Eddie the number on, but the point is that we're going to try to figure it out. And I'm pretty dang on proud of winner, along with Eddie, Drew, Evil, or Jonathan Amodio, who this division as well, Kevin Yergoyes, and Ryan Kerr. We all put a lot of time in getting this division for this season, and I can't be ever so happier.
Well, Tim, it was a pleasure being able to broadcast this race and cast it as well. You have a fantastic evening, and we look forward to watching you guys next week at Auto Club.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
All right, so now we're going to bring in Kyle England, finishing third place. He rounds out the OCM Racing podium. And Kyle England, congratulations on third place. How's it feel to come up third in that race?
Feels pretty good. I didn't really know what to expect. This is my first league race ever on iRacing. I was just planning on riding and trying to survive to the end. So it feels really good to get a good result. The whole team really did well, so pretty happy with it.
Yeah, we saw you had moments you were kind of like hanging out in the middle of the pack for the most part. You really were playing conservative. There were a couple moments here and there we saw you jump to the high line, try and make runs. But throughout the entire race, were you ever looking to try and maybe jump up to the front with Eric, Tim, and Drew?
Really, if I had an opportunity to, I would, but my goal was until the last maybe 30 laps. When it came down to fuel, I was just trying to stay in line and keep myself in a decent position for the end. Again, once it got down to that fuel saving, though, I was glad I was able to get with them after the pit stops, and that was what got us all that good result.
And actually, Richard has a couple questions for you as well.
Yeah, Kyle, great finish tonight. And seeing here, so close to finally getting your first win. I mean, is this a great start for you to start off on the iRacing sim here to potentially make your first playoffs with the VRC?
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season goes. Obviously, the 250, it's going to be chaos just because it's the nature of the track. We'll have to see how the next couple of weeks play out, but it gives me a lot of confidence going into it. I know that the team's all going to be running really good, and I was really happy with the teamwork we were able to have today. So we'll see how it goes. I don't have a whole lot of experience with iRacing, especially in the Cup cars, so that's making me a little nervous, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good season and should hopefully have a shot at the playoffs if all goes well.
All right, well, before we send you on out to celebrate your third place finish, do you have any last words, anybody you want to thank before you head on out?
Yeah, I just want to thank Tim, Drew, Eric, everybody over at OCM. We did a really great job, especially toward the end with the fuel situation. We did a really great job coordinating that. Had a couple of good restarts, and that put us in a great position. So I want to go ahead and thank those guys. They all did a great job.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining us here in the booth for a moment, Kyle, and congratulations again on that third place finish.
Thank you.
All right, so with all that being said, we're going to wrap up this stream. But before we do, just a couple last-minute thoughts. I mean, that was a phenomenal race. I mean, like Tim said, for this league coming over from NASCAR Heat and several drivers being new to all this, I mean, you heard Kyle even was unsure of himself, too. He finished third place. They all did a phenomenal job, some really clean racing. You saw drivers who were pushing the boundaries a little bit when it came to bump drafting and trying to experiment and see how things were going to go. But overall, I mean, only we had 4 or 5 cautions. That is phenomenal. For any group, it doesn't matter what skill level you are. 4 to 5 cautions for a super speedway race is very, very impressive. And it's very promising going into Auto Club next week. I mean, that is a tough track to run. It takes a lot of practice, and it almost feels like you're driving on ice at times. So it's going to be a massive shakeup. I mean, going from a super speedway to going to, in my opinion, one of the tougher tracks on the schedule. But also, if you can run it right, I think Auto Club is also one of the most rewarding tracks. How about you, Richard?
Oh, very rewarding track. And I will say this race was very impressive. Watching a group of drivers come from a console racing game over to a sim racing computer racing sim of iRacing. These guys did fantastic. This was almost a better race to have watched in some of the more established leagues that I watch as well. They all did a fantastic job, and I'm excited to see what these guys can do for the rest of the season.
All right, well, with all that being said, we want to take a moment to thank all of you for joining us here again at No Name Gaming for the Online Motorsports Association's Virtual Racing Championship Season 10 premiere with the Daytona 500. Congratulations to Drew Jua for coming away with the first win in league history on iRacing. We hope you all enjoyed the broadcast tonight, and also want to remind you next week we're going to be heading over to Auto Club, so make sure you check out the OMA League on Twitter. It's at OMA_League, and you can find out all the information for where that race will be broadcasted and where you'll be able to find it. I want to take a moment to thank OMA for allowing us to bring this race to all of you. It's been a pleasure to be able to do that. And a huge thanks goes out to my color commentator for the evening, Richard Wolsifer. My name is Alex Light, saying good night to you from the virtual Daytona Superspeedway. Thanks again for tuning in.